What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7 Astronomical Units Chapter 166 Arrogant and Domineering? Spike. Seeing the stranger talking like this, the three of Luffy were very angry. Luffy clenched his fists and prepared to go forward and teach the man, but Ace stopped him. What am I? Shanks laughed furiously, slowly got up from his seat, and walked directly in front of the opponent. Can you say it again? Hey, the red-haired Shanks of the 5 Emperors of New World, of course I know. The middle-aged man smiled gloomily. However, this is not the sea, this is my sight. No matter how powerful you are, you have arrived on my sight. How can it be? So you know who I am. Shanks' eyes moved and he said, knowing who I am and dared to speak like this, obviously, you are very confident in yourself. So, can you tell me who you are? I'm afraid I'm calling the wrong person. The man laughed and said proudly and domineeringly. I am the King of Thieves. The King of Thieves of Megatron Red Line, please listen to me. It is as great as Roger of One Pirate. Remember, don't forget it in the future. Who defeated you? The King of Thieves? Beat me? Shanks was a little stunned, and looked carefully at the other person. The title of Mountain Thief King is indeed ridiculous, and I was stunned to hear Shanks. Those who dared to be king, dared to compare with Roger, that is. Once the captain of Shanks, this guy in front of him, this kind of stuff, is also worthy of being on the same level as Roger? Ronan can't stand it anymore at this moment. According to this plot, is it really as bloody as in the original book? Ahem, Shanks, get rid of this guy quickly, I'm still waiting for you to drink. Ronan coughed to remind Shanks, and quickly solved the opponent and continued to drink. No horrible bandit king can bother him to drink. What? Alright. When Shanks heard Ronan's words, he didn't think much anymore. Whether the opponent was a hidden powerhouse or not, he would fight directly to see. Advertisement unexpectedly, after hearing Ronan's words, the Mountain Thief King's eyes fell on Ronan, and he snorted and said with disdain, who I thought it was? Nan? Haha, I think the world government is also useless. Ronan, who was just a kid more than 10 years ago, couldn't figure it out and made you one of the 5 bullshit emperors. Well, since I met him today, then I solved you all at once, ha ha ha. After I have solved the 2 5 emperors, I have to talk to the world government, but I helped them a lot. The Mountain Thief King said arrogantly, and then suddenly remembered. Oh, I remembered, Ronan, son of the devil. You seem to have a 10 billion Bailey reward on the world government? Hey, I just got it together. Shanks was stunned again. This guy, with this tone, do you think you are Eames? Do not, even I wouldn't dare to talk to Ronan like this, right? This is really invincible. You are the King of Thieves, you are the Emperor. Ronan was also stunned. Obviously, the legendary Thief King was really brainless. He thought that after he had defeated a few punks and became the overlord of the mountain, he felt that he was invincible, not just to provoke him. After Shanks, he even provokes him directly now. Ronan looked at the dignified look of the 3 Luffys beside him, knowing that the 3 of them must be very serious in their hearts, thinking how terrifying the Mountain Pirate King is. After all, he dared to compare with Roger One Pirate. Can it be simple? It's a pity that Ronan knows that this person in front of him is just like Satan in the Dragon Ball world. Since you are looking for death by yourself, then I will fulfill you, Ronan said without getting up, but just squeezed a chopstick and shook it. Shanks, I will do it for you. This guy insults me and has to pay the price of life. Brush. The Mountain Thief King's eyes were still filled with contentment, and he was killed by Ronan before he even reacted. In this scene, I looked at the 3 teenagers in the field, and the 3 teenagers were still thinking about this before. Is the so-called Mountain Thief King a very terrifying existence? How do you know that in the hands of the 5 emperors, Ronan, he belched without even a move? Luffy firmly stated that he would become the new One Piece in the future. Shanks was pleased that he saw Captain Roger's shadow on Luffy and decided to give Luffy the straw hat on his head that originally belonged to Roger. After a while, Shanks came back, and several people continued to drink, but they were not as harmonious as before. The scene just now was still printed in several people's minds, and they didn't recover. Unlike Ronan and Shanks, they are not so commonplace at all. Advertisement. Who told you to dare? This so-called King of Thieves, a guy who has never heard of him, do you really think he is a strong person on the same level as Roger? Ronan said, I guess I know us. Here, come here specially to challenge us who want to make a name for it. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Nothing. Ronan looked at the 3 nonchalantly and said. No, it's okay. After Shanks left, Ronan looked at Makino apologetically. I'm sorry, I soiled your tavern. Is that so? Then he's looking for the wrong person, Shanks said, looking at the corpse of the Thief King on the ground, then walked over to fight the corpse. I'll deal with the corpse, you wait for me. This is the life of a pirate, and it is for you to experience it in advance. Ronan, I haven't done anything yet, you solved it? Shanks said helplessly. Shanks, on the contrary, did not have any accidents. He often discussed with Ronan. He knew how terrifying Ronan's strength was. It could crush the 3 major marine admiral, the powerful presence of the previous admiral and the marshal, and even the world government. The Yim behind has fought. He hadn't heard of the so-called King Thief in front of him before, and his name was loud, but what happened? The teenagers next to him also looked nervously at Ronan. Sabo's eyes also showed a little fear. In addition to Ace, who was about to reach adulthood, Luffy and Sabo were still relatively young, so Ronan was just coming into this world. That's it. The chopsticks flew out at a speed that was invisible to the naked eye. With a slight snorting, the Bandit King, who claims to dare to compete with Roger, burped in an instant, and a chopstick pierced his head. Only the root fell into the forehead. Makino saw a person dying in front of him, and he was still a little nervous. Ronan was too decisive to kill him. He said that the killer would kill the killer. In a blink of an eye, a life was gone. Ronan and Shanks lived in Windmill Village. Shanks and Luffy were quite able to chat, and Ronan also taught them some fighting skills from time to time. On this day, it seemed that Shanks and Luffy had the same development as in the original plot. Luffy came to the edge of the ocean and asked if Luffy really wanted to go the way of a pirate in the future. Chapter 167 The King of Offshore. Spite. Shanks's straw hat originally belonged to Roger, the One Piece King, was formally handed over to Luffy, and the gears of fate began to turn. Ronan said that the original plot is finally about to begin, and he will officially participate in the entire plot, and will even personally promote the development of the plot. After all, he is not an unknown person now, as one of the 5 emperors of New World. In the entire pirate world, his status is supreme. In fact, not to mention the status of the 5 emperors, his own strength alone is enough to be treated seriously by anyone in the entire pirate world, and no one can ignore Ronan's existence. Mr. Ronan, are you giving this to me? Windmill Village, a temporary residence. Is it someone else standing in front of Ronan? It is Ace who has the title of Fire Fist in the original plot. At this moment, Ace is holding a devil fruit in his hand. Some surprises, but also some doubts. No, I know why the New World Emperor actually gave himself a devil fruit. Ace knows the preciousness of devil fruit, and the fruit in his hand is not an ordinary fruit, but a rare Logia devil fruit. Walking on the sea is very dangerous. I think you are pleasing to the eye. I will give you a devil fruit to defend yourself. Aren't you going to go to sea in a few days? Take advantage of this time to get familiar with this fruit. Ability. Ronan waved his hand to let Ace not care. This. Well, thank you Mr. Ronan for your kindness. Ace thanked Ronan sensibly, and then ate this devil fruit. This is a hot fruit, a kind of fruit that once appeared in the plot. A man named Akino owns this fruit. Now he was signed in by Ronan as a reward and he gave it to Ace casually. This fruit actually belongs to the Flame family. If the Mera-mera Fruit belongs to the top Flame family, or even the highest level, then the closest one is Akainu's Lava Fruit, and Karuman's High Temperature Fruit. As well as the hot fruits that Ace has now, they all have something to do with the high temperature of the flame. After Ace eats the hot fruit, it really has the ability to control the temperature. The higher temperature fruit is almost similar or even overlapping. In fact, there is an essential difference. The hot fruit can only produce heat, while the high temperature fruit can generate high pressure, which is equivalent to the difference between a pressure cooker and a microwave oven. After Ace left, Ronan got up to look for Shanks and asked him if he could leave. Hawkeye was still waiting at the port. It was almost time to go to Shimotsuki village. If you want to play Shimotsuki village, you have to go to Usopp's hometown. Take a look, this trip is all about fun. At the beach, Shanks and Luffy are playing at the beach at the moment. Well, Luffy is actually playing. Shanks is watching by the side with a smile, as if he sees the future One Piece growing up. Suddenly, Shanks changed his face and yelled, "Luffy, be careful." Luffy, who was playing at the beach, was suddenly set off by a huge wave. Demon Fruit Power was afraid of the sea. This wave hits Luffy directly into the ocean. If it falls into the sea, it will almost certainly die. Advertisement. Shanks didn't have time to think about it. He rushed over as soon as he moved. He didn't eat devil fruit and was not afraid of the sea. Roar. A thunderous roar came from the sea, and a huge sea king suddenly emerged from the bottom of the sea to vacate the sea, looked at Shanks savagely, and then swallowed it towards Luffy, who was falling into the water with a big mouth. Court death, Shanks yelled, and Conqueror's Haki burst out, abruptly shocking Sea Kings. However, Luffy's figure had gradually sunk from the surface of the sea to the bottom of the sea. Shanks didn't have time to do other things, so he rushed into the sea where Luffy was and picked up Luffy. But at this moment, the Sea Kings had broken free of Conqueror's Haki's shock, and even boldly moved towards Shanks, and Luffy swallowed it again, trying to swallow the two together. And this scene happened to be seen by Ronan, who was rushed over. King of the Sea, Shanks' arm would be lost here if I didn't intervene. Ronan whispered, people have moved. Since he is here, and Shanks are friends, and there is a covenant between the 5 emperors, it is impossible to watch Shanks lose his arm. Bloom, Senbon Sakura. A sword gas soared into the sky, and the thunder swiftly passed by. Laugh. A sound of sharp blade cutting came from the ocean. The Sea King swallowed abruptly, followed by a whine, and the whole head broke off from the huge body, and fell into the ocean with a thump, throwing out a large splash of water in the sea. Stained red by endless blood, the huge body of Sea Kings gradually sinks into the depths of the ocean. In the depths of the ocean, countless bloodthirsty sea beasts smell the blood and swim toward here with excitement. This is the flesh and blood of the King of the Sea. The body, being able to devour such precious flesh and blood, will not help them grow too much. Luo, Ronan. As soon as Ronan took back Senbon Sakura, Shanks came back from the sea with Luffy in his arms, looking a little embarrassed, but there was no damage, but he knew that if Ronan hadn't taken the shot, he might really want to take the mouthful of Sea Kings. Encountered some dangers. Are you okay? Ronan asked Luffy, who looked stunned. It's okay. Shanks shook his head, then looked at the dead Sea Kings in the ocean that was being robbed by countless sea beasts, and exclaimed. I didn't expect that there would be a Sea Kings, Luffy, here. You must come to the beach in the future. Pay attention, this is the king of the sea, a powerful sea king who likes to be close to the sea. If Ronan didn't take the shot just now, we might be in danger. Yes. Okay, I get it. Thank you Mr. Ronan. Thank you Shanks. Luffy came to his senses and quickly thanked him, while wiping tears. He was really scared just now and fell into it. I was choked in the seawater a few times, and now my face is full of snot and tears. Advertisement. Ronan smiled and said, Sea Kings started to restless, and it hasn't happened in history. Poseidon? Happened in history? I'll talk to Whitebeard about this matter. Ronan said, although the Fishman Island now has a Pluton and has some self-preservation, the relationship with Whitebeard is still better than ours. Others are much better, so let him worry about these things. Poseidon appeared. Shanks touched his chin and said, each generation of Poseidon is the mermaid princess of the Fishman Island. Has this generation of mermaid princesses awakened? In this case, it is estimated that the Fishman Island will become a mermaid in the future. The land of right and wrong. Ronan nodded, and then said, this Sea Kings has been solved by me. There shouldn't be any other offshore kings, right? It's okay. The mermaid princess is an individual, and I don't mean to control it, and I'm not the kind of domineering person. Ronan touched his nose and said, look at that time, she is still too immature now, and she is not even capable of awakening. Mature, wait a few years to go to the Fishman Island, and ask the princess if she would like to join my pirate group. Then I will have to check it out then. Shanks put Luffy down, thinking and saying, Ronan, do you know what's going on? I don't know, Shanks, have you heard of Poseidon? Of course it's okay, it's not a big secret, but you'd better not tell others that Poseidon has been born, and has even begun to awaken. All these Sea Kings are gradually agitated. These come from the calm belt, I'm probably looking for their king. Poseidon, Ronan, are you not tempted? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Shanks smiled and looked at Ronan. Controlling Poseidon is equivalent to controlling all the Sea Kings in the entire world. This is a huge and terrifying force that can even suppress the world. Shanks chuckled, and wanted to fight for Poseidon, a deterrent weapon. Shanks was taken aback, and then said, that's right, there are two top archaeologists around you, and they must know more about these ancient things than me. Since you know it, don't you mind telling me? The king of the sea is not a Chinese cabbage. It is very rare for East Blue to have such a one. It should not be there again. However, there is no guarantee that no other Sea Kings will appear. I don't know if something went wrong on the calm belt or what happened. These Sea Kings started to come out of the calm belt frequently. My fleet has been attacked by Sea Kings several times. Chapter 168 Sign in Shimotsuki Village, the artifact Xuanyuan sword. A few days later, Shanks and Ronan officially left Windmill Village. For so many days, Garp did not show up in Windmill Village. I don't know where they went, or the East Blue Marine branch in Logue Town. The two of them didn't bother with this kind of thing. In fact, it's good not to meet each other. After all, they belong to the Marine Pirates, and the two are in a hostile relationship. If they really meet, they will be embarrassed. Not to mention Shanks, he came to Windmill Village this time to fool Garp's grandson to become a pirate. Even Roger's straw hat was given to Luffy. As for Ace, Ronan gave him a devil fruit. After going out to sea, there are some safety aspects. This is a great guarantee. Although it may not be as strong as in the original book, Ace's character can definitely grow up. The two left the Windmill Village and found Haki at the port. Shanks ordered Usopp and the crew to sail away from the kingdom of Goya, where the Windmill Village was located, and head towards Shimotsuki Village. A few days later, after the ship resisted the island where Shimotsuki Village was located, it did not stop for too long. Instead, Ronan and Haki were put down and sailed away. Shanks, Usopp and others went to the island where Usopp was located. Nanny Haki did not follow. Is this the island where Shimotsuki Village is located? It's pretty simple. Ronan looked at the island in front of him. It was not a big island. Even in East Blue, it was only a small and medium-sized island. There were several villages on it, and a small port city that seemed to be developed. The largest commercial distribution center on the island is such a small port city. That must be the prosperous island of Aaron without you. Mahawk took the conversation. Your island was not prosperous in New World before, but after so many years in your hands, it has become the most prosperous in New World. Island, speaking of it, Ronan, your domination talent and business talent are very powerful. Where do I have any talent for domination? Things on the island are managed by others. For business talent, the chambers of commerce and companies on Aaron Island are owned by those merchants who come to do business on Aaron Island. I just collect its only taxation. Ronan waved his hand and said, let's go to Shimotsuki Village. Well, I don't know which Koshiro master of Yushin Kendo Hall will welcome us. Advertisement, welcome or not, we are all here. You are here to challenge others. Do you think others will welcome you? Not necessarily. For me, I would be very happy if a younger generation challenged me, Mahawk said solemnly. He is very serious about Kendo, and he is even very happy to see a new Kendo player turn out. But not everyone thinks like you. Ronan shook his head. This Koshiro is very low-key and has not made a lot of reputation. It is estimated that no one will challenge him, but if you want to come, there should be no problem with this challenge. After all, those who learn Kendo will not be afraid of the challenge anyway. Yes, swordsman, fearless, Hawkeye said sternly. Why is a demigod? The two talked about walking and came to the port city. They found a carriage for the coachman to take them to Shimotsuki Village. The island is not too big. After only half a day, the two arrived at Shimotsuki village, or because the two were unwilling to run on their own. Otherwise, for Ronan, this distance would have been reached within 10 seconds without blinking. But it doesn't matter what a waste of time, he is not short of time. Even now that 10 years have passed, he has integrated the regular fragments of the power of the Phoenix, and from the level of life alone, he is already at the level of a demigod. Speaking of the rule fragments of the power of the Phoenix, Ronan has now been integrated. The power of the demigod has made him invincible in this world. In terms of lifespan, he has reached hundreds of 10,000 years. He has such a lifespan and strength, he has nothing to pursue in the world of One Piece. In the next time, he is ready to sit and watch the situation, watching the plot push, participate if you want to participate, and ignore it if you don't want to participate. As for the Fortress of Iam and Uranus, he has no interest anymore. Ronan's ultimate goal is not just as simple as becoming a god. He hopes that his ultimate achievement can reach the end of the gods, the Lord of the Multiverse, and at the same time achieve the immortal saint who is immortal and immortal. Ding! Congratulations to host, sign in successfully, get reward, Xuanyuanjan. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. When he arrived in Shimotsuki village, Ronan casually ordered the system to sign in once, but this is his first time here, sign in to see what good things he can get. Advertisement. Ronan's expression moved, and there was a slight shock. After all, this sword is not that simple, I just don't know what kind of Xuanyuan sword it is. The Xuanyuan sword in the Sha world is at least the level of the artifact and immortal weapon, and even if it is the Xuanyuan sword in the prehistoric world, it must be of the Lingbao level. Xuanyuan sword. An artifact from the world of Shenxia, handed down from the hands of Ji Xuanyuan, the treasure of suppressing luck. Because he has not yet condensed the godhead, from the perspective of mythology, both the god level and the immortal level belong to the same level. Ronan smiled slightly, received this divine artifact Xuanyuan sword, and threw it directly into the sky ring. At this moment, the sky ring was filled with a lot of things. Of course, what kind of spaceships, interstellar fortresses, etc. were obtained before? It's not in there. Those things are too big to fit. Ronan didn't immediately receive these large rewards. Instead, he stored them in the system space. When he wanted to use them, he could receive them directly. Now the system is also there's no restriction on the time for receiving it, which is very comfortable. The only drawback is that the things after receiving it cannot continue to be stored in the system space. Otherwise, Ronan will have an infinite exclusive space. Sure enough, although it is not from the Xuanyuan sword from the top world of the primordial world, it is also from the Shenxia world, the artifact level. I happen to be at the power level of the demigod right now, and it is quite suitable to use the artifact. Ronan has the opportunity to condense the godhead and formally become a god. At that time, he will have an almost unlimited lifespan. This is the final point of the two roads, at least from Ronan's current vision. Maybe after reaching this level, there will be more boundless worlds waiting for him in the future, but at least for now, he is using these two go forward. Xuanyuanjan, however, he not only has this direction of practice, he still has the path of immortality, so he is very ambitious and prepares to walk the two paths together, so he delays the time to condense the godhead, and prepares to wait for the cultivation of the prehistoric chi refining technique. At the immortal level, while casting immortal celestial bodies, it also condenses immortal godheads. During the 10 years of signing in, he obtained various treasures, including spaceships from the technological world, interstellar motherships, etc. A lot of things. As his strength increased, the level of the items rewarded for signing in also increased. This is what the previous system said personally, and the fact is true. He has been here in East Blue all the way, and after signing in several times, he has received better rewards than before. System. Sign in to Shimotsuki Village, Chapter 169 Ishin Kendo Hall, Koshiro. Shimotsuki Village, inside Ishin Kendo Hall. Okay, now you follow Kuina to practice your sword skills, and practice all the things I just mentioned. Koshiro, who was sitting on his knees, helped down his glasses, and said solemnly to the disciples below. Yes, teacher. A large group of young people below bowed respectfully to Koshiro. Koshiro nodded, got up and left. As soon as the teacher left, the group of teenagers who were kneeling below suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, and then grinned. Senior Sister Kuina, the sword moves taught by the teacher are too difficult, how did you learn it all at once? A tall teenager came to a petite girl and asked. Senior Sister Kuina is a genius, she can learn quickly no matter what the teacher teaches. A teenager next to her looked at the girl admiringly and said. Okay, don't talk nonsense, practice now. The girl was a little shy, but when she talked about the practice of swordsmanship, she immediately became serious again. She loves Kendo even more deeply than anyone. It's a pity that her father Koshiro has never agreed with her to continue practicing Kendo, but she is still young. When she is an adult, it is estimated that waiting for her is to find someone to marry, and completely say goodbye to Kendo. Thinking of this, Kuina feels uncomfortable. Is it true that girls can go further on the road of Kendo? Kuina's eyes moved, and she turned to a corner of the Kendo hall, where a thin, green-haired young man was holding a wooden sword silently, waving there, looking very serious. Look at Zoro, who has already started practicing. Let's take a look at you, all hippies, can you be more serious? The task given by your father, you must complete it, and I will supervise it seriously, Kuina said in a deep voice. Upon hearing this, these teenagers stood up solemnly, picked up the wooden sword and began formal training. Advertisement and Zoro heard Kuina's words, but he just looked up at Kuina, and then continued to practice his sword skills. Since he failed to challenge Kuina countless times, he vowed that he must practice his sword well and finally defeat Kuina. The machismo Zoro couldn't stand the fact that he had been losing to a girl, and now he couldn't beat the opponent. He would practice harder, learn stronger sword moves, and finally defeat Kuina. And just as the disciples of the Kendo gym were practicing hard, two uninvited guests came outside the gate of Ishin Kendo at this moment. Ronan and Eagle Eye have arrived at the entrance of the Kendo Hall. Looking at the Ishin Dojo sign hanging on the door of the Kendo Hall, Eagle Eye nodded. However, this word is full of sharp meaning, indeed like Ronan said, this Koshiro is an expert in Kendo. Wait, don't rush to compete. It's really not a righteous thing for us to come all the way to find trouble. Compared to fighting with real swords and guns, we actually exchange and debate some Kendo experience, sometimes against both sides. The help is even greater, Luo Nan said calmly. I understand what you mean, Hawkeye said affirmatively. The exchanges with you and Shanks in the past few years have really benefited me a lot, especially you, Ronan. I really can't imagine your swordsmanship. How the theory came up really opened my eyes. Haha, talent. It's not worth mentioning. Ronan waved his hand, saying that this is all pediatrics, and suddenly made the eagle eye on the side roll by Kugan. This guy is good at everything, but he can't pretend to be too forceful. The two went directly to the inside of the dojo, but as soon as they entered the door, they were discovered by a few teenagers in the courtyard holding wooden swords. Who are you? What do you come to our dojo? Are you here to learn swords or something else? A young man who looked like the leader came over, looked at Ronan and asked with some caution. Perhaps this is a relatively remote place in East Blue, or that these young people have too little knowledge to recognize the identity of the two. 17 warlords of the sea and 1 new world, 5 emperors are unknown here. Excuse me, the owner of the Ishin Kendo Hall is Mr. Koshiro. Ronan asked with a gentle expression. Now, no matter how noble his status, no matter how powerful he is, he said that the pirate world is supreme. But Ronan did not have that kind of domineering approach, nor did he see that ordinary people had a condescending aura. Instead he spoke to others very gently. Yes, Mr. Koshiro is our curator and our teacher. Are you here to find the teacher? The boy breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe these two are friends of the teacher? I don't know which swordsman came to the humble house. Ronan on the side felt his forehead and became speechless. He was indeed a fighting madman. He wanted to learn from the swordsman master when he saw it. When Hawkeye saw Koshiro's first glance, his spirit of war burst into his heart, and he immediately forgot what Ronan had said just now, and he bluntly stated the meaning of challenge in the first sentence. Advertisement. I heard that the master of Ishin Kendo Hall has amazing Kendo skills. Mihawk came to ask for advice. Then this. Koshiro ignored the shock of the disciples. He turned his gaze to Ronan. If Mihawk Hawkeye only shocked him, then the beautiful young man in front of him, let him know, it is enough for anyone in this world, any strong, any Kendo master to have to treat it seriously. Koshiro was shocked. The person in front of him seemed familiar at first, and when he heard the name reported by the other party, he immediately remembered that the person in front of him was one of the Shichibukai known as Eagle Eyes, and even in the eyes of the world, this Mihawk is also known as the head of Shichibukai, and its Kendo strength is beyond doubt. With that, Koshiro got up, put the long sword in his hand and put it aside, and then walked towards the courtyard. In fact, without the need for a report from the young man, Koshiro, who was wiping a long sword in the rear hall of the Kendo Hall, suddenly raised his head, his eyes exploded with sharp eyes, and he whispered. This sharp sword spirit. Which swordsman came to me? Ronan smiled and said mildly, even with a little apology in his words. Hawkeye, he wanted to ask me before, if there is any great Kendo master in East Blue. I said your name, and in the end he will come to challenge you. I didn't stop either. I hope Mr. Koshiro doesn't mind. Koshiro's voice reached the courtyard, and people also appeared at the doorway connected to the courtyard from the direction of the main hall at the back. Seeing the big black sword on Yingyin's back, the young man felt that he should be the teacher's admirer, and both were swordsmen who came to the teacher for advice. I'm Ronan. I'm here to disturb you this time, Mr. Koshiro. Hearing Koshiro's words at this moment, they stared at Hawkeye closely, and their expressions were shocking, because they heard that Shichibukai in front of them was actually going to challenge their teacher. This is a big deal. You are Hawkeye Mihawk. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Hawkeye Mihawk. And now, this great swordsman has found this place, and bluntly said that he wanted to challenge himself. Koshiro was a little speechless. He was so low-key that he even provoked such a powerful challenger. In the courtyard, there are more than just the previous teenagers. The teenagers who practiced swordsmanship in other places ran out after hearing the movement, including Kuina and Zoro. At this moment, when they heard Koshiro's words, they were shocked, even though they had seen it. Little, but as someone who learns swordsmanship, he must have heard of the name 7 warlords of the sea Hawkeye Mihawk, but he has never seen it with his own eyes. Chapter 170. Hawkeye vs. Koshiro. Challenge me? Koshiro was taken aback. This Shichibukai was actually here to challenge himself, but thinking about the sword aura he felt just now, it was obvious that the other party really came with the idea of challenge. However, even if Koshiro is a low-key person, as a Kendo master, he cannot be afraid and refuse a person who challenges his Kendo. Yes, I would like to ask Mr. Koshiro to agree. This is not a life-to-death battle, we just have a sword move. I think it will be helpful to our understanding of Kendo, Mihawk said in a stern face. Of course I won't refuse, Koshiro smiled and said, since Mr. Mihawk has arrived at my dojo, how can I refuse your challenge? Winning or losing is not a question. If I refuse, How will others evaluate my Kendo hall? So, I promised. Haha, Mr. Koshiro deserves to be an expert in Kendo, so, shall we start now? Haki gave a rare smile. As a face paralyzed all the time, the only thing that can make him smile is sword-related. So urgent? Are you ready to start? Ronan on the side was a little speechless. Is this guy so impatient? I don't want to waste time, Haki said solemnly. Since Mr. Mihawk doesn't want to waste time, let's start now. Koshiro didn't say much, and nodded directly. I'll get my saber. Kuina, help arrange tea for Mr. Ronan. Advertisement, okay. Kuina nodded, her gaze fell on Ronan. The person named Ronan in front of her is a more powerful character than Haki. As the youngest of the 5 emperors, she is also strong. The strongest one, well, also has the title of the world's largest swordsman. This title fell on Ronan's head more than 10 years ago. To this day, countless people have challenged Ronan, but the title is still Ronan's. It is conceivable that the young man in front of him has so much Kendo knowledge. Kuina even wants to ask Ronan for some Kendo knowledge, but it is better to arrange tea first, and you can't neglect these 2 big men. After some arrangements, Ronan was tasting tea in the living room, and Koshiro also took out his saber over there. It was not a famous sword. It would definitely be at a disadvantage to fight against Haki's big black sword, and he gave it to my daughter's knife as somewhat famous. Koshiro learned the style of 2 swords. He also took out Kuina's saber and the words of Tao. With 2 swords in his hand, the aura of the swordsman power suddenly flourished, and a sharp aura rose from the depths of the dojo. Let the eagle eyes on the side look awe-inspiring. Sure enough, I am a Kendo master. The test officially started. Haki walked to the center of the courtyard. Koshiro also walked out with a pair of knives. A large group of Kendo disciples were onlookers. Ronan also got up and came to the courtyard, followed by Kuina and Zoro. Do you think who will win between them? Ronan asked the 2 with great interest. Of course it is my father, Kuina said confidently. Although the teacher is strong, the opponent is Mihawk, one of Shichibukai's eagle eyes, and his strength cannot be underestimated. Zoro frowned and said. Zoro, why are you so unconfident to your father? Kuina glared at Zoro. Father's strength, you now have the opportunity to see it with your own eyes. Kuina is still confident, and her eyes are full of enthusiasm. As a newcomer to Kendo, she herself loves learning swords very much, and now she will have the opportunity to see the confrontation between 2 Kendo masters. There is really no more exciting time than this. And Zoro is the same. Although the eagle eye cannot be underestimated, he still hopes that Koshiro can win. After all, Koshiro is his Kendo teacher. If Koshiro wins, it means that his teacher is strong enough to be comparable. The strength of the world's top swordsman, and the Kendo knowledge he can learn in the future will be even stronger. Oh, Mr. Koshiro is right. What is the problem? Advertisement. Ronan smiled and said, Mr. Koshiro's strength is indeed not to be underestimated, but Zoro is also correct. Haki is not that simple. His Kendo power has been honed through countless battles, so this time the competition must be very exciting. Okay, I also remember, I will definitely practice Kendo hard and challenge you as soon as possible. Zoro looked excited, as if he was full of energy. He also had a goal for the future, and he would definitely practice harder in the future. However, there are exceptions to everything. Ronan looked down at Kuina. Seeing Zoro challenge himself solemnly, Ronan laughed. Okay, I remember, when you become successful in Kendo, you can challenge me at any time, as long as you can defeat me in Kendo. This I will give you the title of the world's largest swordsman. Well, my strength is indeed slightly stronger than him. Ronan nodded calmly and admitted. It's not that I am not unconfident. I have full confidence in the teacher, but the other party is not an unknown person. He has already made a big name in the sea, and the teacher. I have never seen the teacher make a full shot, so I don't know what the teacher's strength is, Zoro explained. Kuina, aren't you talking nonsense? Mr. Ronan is the world's #1 swordsman. Zoro on the side spoke directly, and then looked at Ronan's eyes with another expression, which was full of the look of challenge as not the kind of challenging Ronan now, but a goal for the future. He also wants to become the world's #1 swordsman, Mr. Ronan, I will also become the world in the future. The #1 swordsman, when I grow up, I will challenge you. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Seeing this, Kuina couldn't help biting her lip and whispered, Mr. Ronan, can I ask you a question? Father said that girls are not suitable for practicing Kendo. Even if I can defeat all the other disciples in the Kendo hall, when they grow up, they will crush me in physical strength. At that strength, my Kendo strength will have nothing to do with it. Compared to boys, is there really no alternative? Kuina looked a little lonely. Ronan nodded and smiled indifferently. Under normal circumstances, this is indeed the case. This is a natural difference in physical fitness between men and women. Of course, there are some exceptions in the world. For example, some women are born with great power and talents. He has amazing talents in other areas, but in Kendo, there are not many women in this world who can achieve outstanding achievements. This is why your father doesn't want you to take this path. Mr. Ronan, you should be stronger than this Shichibukai? Kuina's eyes rolled and saw that the competition in the field had not officially started, and both sides were gathering momentum. Before the official fight, fierce swordsmanship. The momentum was already in a confrontation, and she turned to ask Ronan, her eyes filled with interest in Ronan. When Ronan, the world's #1 swordsman, said so, Kuina's eyes dimmed for an instant. Chapter 171 Help Kuina and Zoro. Ronan suddenly said, I have a way to make up for your flaws. Hey. As soon as Ronan's voice fell, Kuina, who had a dim look, suddenly brightened her eyes, suddenly raised her head and looked at Ronan tightly. Luo, Mr. Ronan. I. This time I'm here to harass, and it is considered that we are causing you trouble, so I can give you a gift as an apocalypse. I hope I can help you. Ronan looked down at Kuina's fiery gaze and smiled. In fact, your Kendo talent should be the highest among anyone I have ever met. Even Mihawk is not as good as you. My Kendo talent is so high. Really, Kuina was pleasantly surprised, although she felt that her Kendo talent was very high, and she was also very hardworking and studious. Compared with the talents of the world-class top swordsman, she still has no confidence, but now this is the world's #1 swordsman. He has said so, and there must be no problem. Of course it's true. Ronan nodded, then waved his hand and took out a few things. This is a Kendo book. It records some of my cultivation experience and some powerful swordsmanship. You can look at it. Well, some of it is Kendo techniques. Both you and Zoro can learn, but others if you don't have my approval, I hope you don't disclose it to others. Ronan put a book in Kuina's hands and looked at Zoro, who was staring at him, but he did not exclude him. According to the original plot, if it were not for the accidental death of Kuina, they would be a natural match. Advertisement, thanks. Thank you Mr. Ronan. Before Kuina could say anything, Zoro thanked him in surprise. He was able to get the training experience of the world's #1 swordsman in a Kendo technique. The great thing about Pi. Here, Mr. Ronan, if it were my father, Kuina hesitated. Of course your father can watch it too. When the competition is over, you can tell him about it after we are gone. This feeling of constantly getting stronger all the time, is really cool. Zoro looked at his hands happily, and he could feel that his strength was getting stronger all the time, a little bit. According to Ronan, this effect will last for 1 day and 1 night. I don't know how strong my physique will become by this time tomorrow. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Ronan said with a smile, this kind of medicine is indeed very precious, as Kuina said. Even if he has signed in 10 years, he has only received more than 20 pieces. Of course, everyone in his own pirate group. There is 1 copy and the rest are in his sky ring. He kept the collection and did not put it out for auction. He is not short of money now. This opportunity is just for Kuina and Zoro as gifts. Ronan thought for a while and said, he felt that if he said first, based on Koshiro's character, he might reject his kindness, and then he didn't want to see Kuina, a Kendo genius, fall like this. He still had to take a shot if he could help. Haha, take it, this thing is indeed very precious to you, but it is nothing to me. Since I gave it to you, then you can safely accept it. Ronan smiled. I will practice swordsmanship well in the future. I not only hope that Zoro will have the strength to challenge me in the future, but I also look forward to Kuina who can defeat me and become the world's #1 swordsman and the #1 female swordsman in the world. This kind of medicine has a very strong effect. It will take about a day and a night for the effect to be fully effective. By this time tomorrow, the effect will probably be all over. Then you will test the strengthening effect. Under the medicine, a warm breath spreads from the stomach to the whole body, as if you were in a sauna, but it is not so hot. The muscle tissue and even the internal organs are constantly strengthening. Advertisement with the effect of this potion, Kuina's physical fitness will be greatly improved. It is absolutely impossible to fall to death after falling down the stairs as in the original work. Death, most seriously injured. Such a magical and powerful potion is precious, isn't it? Kuina bit her lip and looked at the 2 bottles of potion very eagerly, but said, Mr. Ronan, we can't accept such a precious gift from you. The world's #1 female swordsman, Kuina can clearly feel the strengthening process of the body. The effect of this medicine is too obvious, and the effect is too fast. She squeezed her fist and felt it, and was excited to find that her physical fitness and other aspects were improving, and the improvement effect becomes more and more obvious with the passage of time. This is the most real feeling in the hearts of both Kuina and Zoro at this moment. Yeah, come on, teacher. Zoro recovered, staring into the courtyard with scorching eyes, and started cheering on his teacher. The effect is so good. Seeing this, Zoro was a little confused. He had little knowledge. He had never heard of such a magical potion before. He immediately learned to drink the potion with Kuina. When he went down, he truly felt the warm breath that Kuina had just felt flowing all over his body, and the clear sensation that the muscles and internal organs of the whole body were constantly increasing. Upon hearing this, Kuina's eyes were pierced, her eyes sparkling, confidence and fighting spirit rose, and then she took a deep breath, squeezed the bottle cap and drank the potion. She was not afraid that Ronan would give anything poisonous. Medicine and the like, with Ronan's identity, he couldn't do that kind of thing at all. Well, there are 2 bottles of potions, named Strength 0 potions, which can greatly enhance your physique. You and Zoro can drink 1 bottle of it. Ronan also handed the other things to Kuina. This potion has the effect. Very good, it can definitely improve your physical fitness, even beyond the level of an ordinary man. Strengthening potion? Can greatly enhance the physique? God, there is such a miraculous potion? Zoro shouted out in a fuss again, causing other spectators not far away to look sideways, but they are far from Ronan's side. Far away, I don't know what is happening here. Hold this book. Ronan pointed to the book in Kuina's hand, and then felt 2 sharp sword oars rising to the sky. He knew that the duel between Mihawk and Koshiro had begun. Next, good, let's watch this Kendo competition. This potion is terrible. Chapter 172 The duel ends, slightly better. Kuina didn't speak, but she began to watch the battle between the two seriously. Ronan didn't have any solemn expressions. For him now, the battle between Mihawk and Koshiro is almost like a pediatrics. There's a big gap between him and the strong in One Piece world. Chi 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 chi, boom boom. Beneath the sword aura, the two figures turned into phantoms that were hard to see with the naked eye. In the courtyard, there were waves of gold and iron clashing. This was the sound of swords and swords. The two of them had already fought. Very fast, of course Ronan could see clearly, but the ordinary student disciples looked helpless. They couldn't see the movements of Koshiro and Hawkeye at all. The Kuina and Zoro next to Ronan could barely see a general idea, but also because the effect of the potion began to take effect. After they had completely absorbed the effect of the potion, they could clearly see the two of them. The figure and the action are gone. The fight between Mihawk and Koshiro was fierce, and the disciples of the Kendo gym next to them were stunned. Never thought that the strength of the teacher is so strong. Yeah, I can't see their movements clearly. In other words, how are they playing now? Who has the upper hand? I don't know, I can't see it at all. A group of Kendo Hall disciples talked. They couldn't see the movements of the two people on the court at all. They could only see a series of vague and rapid figures shuttled and sounded from time to time. The sound of gold and iron. Here, Kuina and Zoro can barely see a little bit, but still can't clearly understand the situation on the court. Mr. Ronan, what's the situation in their competition now? The teacher must have the advantage? Zoro asked nervously. How do you say it? It's just warming up right now. Both of them have room, and they haven't come up with their real skills. Ronan said boredly. The two in the court looked like they were fighting very fiercely. In the eyes of these Kendo Hall apprentices, even if it is a genius of Kendo like Kuina, she has only just been in contact with Kendo for a few years. What? This is just a warm-up. Zoro was shocked, watching the fierce battle in the field dully. Such a terrifying battle scene. You said it was just a warm-up. Too exaggerated. Zoro's mouth twitched. Then, Mr. Ronan, when will their duel end? Kuina asked. Probably soon, when they really come up with the last trick, that is, when the battle is over. Ronan said, the two in the field have become more and more crazy with the battle. The sword wind swept through, and even the entire yard was blown. After the strong wind, this was caused by the fighting between the two people. In fact, this is nothing. For such a strong swordsman, the courtyard is still too small. Look carefully, it's over. Ronan suddenly changed his expression and said. Kuina and Zoro heard this and immediately stared at the court. In the field, the figures of Mihawk and Koshiro suddenly appeared, standing on each side. Both of them gasped for a little bit, holding a famous knife and looking at each other. Their eyes were full of high spirits. Both knew that this was a match. Opponent. Mr. Koshiro, your strength is so strong, it's beyond my expectation. Mihawk said. This is the truth. Although he has not underestimated the opponent before, the strength shown by the opponent is indeed a big surprise. To his surprise, this is just a small village on a medium-sized island in East Blue. Such a terrifying Kendo expert is hidden. If he appears in the Grand Line or New World, it is normal. After all, the top powerhouses in this world are all gathered there, but in front of him, he is really amazed. Advertisement. Neither did I expect that Mr. Mihawk is so powerful. Koshiro waved the double knives in his hands and said solemnly. Next, I will come up with the strongest trick of my second sword style. I hope Mr. Mihawk can treat it with caution. I'm going to use my trick too, otherwise I won't be able to win this challenge. Mihawk's eyes were full of fierce fighting spirit, and he held the big black knife in both hands and pointed it at Koshiro far away. Want to beat me? It's not that simple thing. Koshiro smiled slightly, then his expression condensed, his knives crossed, and he suddenly stomped his feet. The man has disappeared from the spot and reappeared, already in the air, outside the Kendo Hall. Above an empty place this courtyard can no longer accommodate their next battle. An inattention, aftermath of tricks can completely destroy the entire Kendo Hall. As for those apprentices, if Ronan doesn't make a move, they will all die in the aftermath of the battle. Although Koshiro knew that Ronan was strong, he was unwilling to take this risk, so he moved the battlefield. It's just what I want. Mihawk grinned, and the man disappeared in place and appeared in the air opposite Koshiro. Both of them have powerful strengths that can support them in a short-term battle in the air. Boom! A vast burst of sword energy burst into the sky in midair. It was Koshiro. It was Koshiro who couldn't imagine that the ultimate power burst out by such a gentle and humble person was so bursting and sturdy, with a kind of indomitable force. The horror aura, this Kendo aura, was so terrifying that even Ronan couldn't help raising his eyebrows. Laugh. Another horrible sword aura that was sharp to the extreme swept through, almost piercing the sky. Even the clouds in the distant sky were pierced through a huge gap. This was the Eagle Eyes eruption. The strongest sword aura, extremely sharp, piercing and terrifying. In the eyes of this one, there is nothing in the world that can withstand the attack of this move. Of course, when he was competing with Ronan before, he was cracked by Ronan with a finger. After that, he never used this trick in front of Ronan again. Therefore, it should be that except Ronan, no one in this world can take this trick. This is the confidence of Hawkeye. And now, he is facing a terrifying Kendo master, Koshiro, who is almost equal to him besides Ronan and Shanks. This is a powerful opponent that is enough for him to use this trick. Kang. Bang bang. After a clash that resounded across the sky, two dull voices sounded again, the sound of two people falling back to the ground. Cough, cough. Mihawk coughed and vomited blood, his hands trembling slightly with a big black sword trying to stand up, but he was weak and unable to do it. His clothes all over his body were severely damaged at the moment. After the countless sword Chi cut his clothes, he cut his body countless times, blood flowed out all over his body, such a serious injury, if not treated in time, he would undoubtedly die. On the other side, Koshiro was even more uncomfortable. The double knives he held were all shattered, and even the words of Hetoichi were destroyed. In the peak confrontation facing the supreme big knife and big black knife, these two long knives were not at all opponent. Koshiro's chest has a horrible crack passing through his body. It was wounded by the extremely horrible sword energy gathered by the eagle eye at the end. This terrible injury, not to mention the timely treatment, is the most powerful in the world in time. The doctor estimated that they would not be able to save him. Only those with special devil fruit, such as Trafalgar Law, who has started to wander the sea, and Princess Man Shirley of Lilliputian, could save his life. Of course, Ronan is present here at this moment, these will not be a problem. Advertisement, father, teacher. Seeing such a tragic scene, the apprentices didn't even think about the issue of victory or defeat. They ran to Koshiro very nervously, and Kuina and Zoro were the first to rush out. When Ronan saw this, he shook his head helplessly. These two guys really deserved to be learning Kendo. They talked to the end before the competition. They couldn't hurt their peace. As a result, they fought so hard. This is good, I almost took my life into it, right? Ronan took out 2 bottles of potions and walked towards the two of them. With him here, of course they wouldn't let them die like this. After coming to the two of them, after taking a look at the injuries of the two of them, they poured the medicine down, and the effect appeared instantaneously, but within a few minutes, the two of them got up alive and kicking. Thank you for Mr. Ronan's potion. I have heard that Mr. Ronan has this kind of life-saving potion with heaven-defying effect. I didn't expect to be able to enjoy this kind of potion today. Koshiro touched his heart. The scars of the horrible sword passed by the heart, and now, there is nothing left. Not only that, but the hidden stubborn and old wounds on his body have also disappeared. The effect of this medicine is really terrifying. It tastes good. Mihawk smashed his mouth on the side. It still tastes good. This thing is not cheap, it's just so good for you. Didn't you say that it is better? Don't you need to be so hard? Ronan turned by Kugan and said, if I were not here, you two it's really over. Mr. Koshiro is so powerful that I can't help but want to make a full shot. Hawkeye looked at Koshiro and smiled faintly. This feeling is what I want. Mr. Mihawk's strength is also amazing. This time, I lost the fight. Koshiro sighed as he looked at the shattered double knife fragments under his feet, and bluntly gave in. Mr. Koshiro did not lose in strength, but in the difference of weapons. My big black sword is the supreme sharp knife, and naturally suppressed Mr. S weapons. Hawkeye was not complacent because he was slightly better. He saw holding his big black sword, he said, if we exchange weapons, I am definitely not Mr. Koshiro's opponent. Weapons are also part of strength. Mr. Mihawk doesn't have to be self-effacing. Koshiro smiled and said, I'm not someone who can't afford to lose. Okay, let's go back to the Kendo Hall. The two are coming from afar, just in time for me to entertain me. Entertain both of you. Well, I don't know if there is any wine. Where can there be less wine? As a result, in the eyes of a group of apprentices in amazement, the two who were still dying just now swaggered back to prepare to drink. Well, what is going on? No, I don't know, it seems that it was better to drink than Mr. Ronan's medicine? Gosh, it's incredible. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 173 Special Reward for the Thousandth Sign-in. Ronan and Mihawk spent 2 days at the Ishin Dojo in Shimotsuki village. During these 2 days, Koshiro really served with good wine, good food, big fish and big meat. Let's get some Kendo knowledge from the dojo apprentices. Ronan also deliberately guided Kuina and Zoro to learn the things in the books handed to them, so that the two of them really felt that their Kendo strength had improved greatly. After the effects of the medicine were completely absorbed, both their physical stamina and thinking changed. He is very sensitive, and his understanding of Kendo has also improved a lot. Koshiro was very pleased with this and thanked Ronan specially. He originally didn't want Kuina to go this way because women are inherently inferior to men in terms of physical fitness and will not have much success in the future. Now, all of this is no longer true. Problem. 2 days later, Ronan said goodbye to Koshiro and left Shimotsuki village in the eyes of Kuina and Zoro. Less than half a month after Ronan and the two left, Kuina suffered a catastrophe that was supposed to be dead in her fate. She accidentally fell down the stairs. Her strong physical quality allowed her to avoid the fate of death, but she just broke. It's just a few skin injuries. After leaving Shimotsuki village, Ronan and Shanks headed towards the West Luobu village where Shanks is currently located, as agreed with Shanks. In West Rob village, just after Ronan set foot on this island, the system in his mind suddenly heard a ding-dong sound. Congratulations to host, you have completed 999 check-ins. This time the island can be checked in for the 1000th time. You will receive a special reward for the 1000th check-in, which will far exceed all previous rewards. May I ask host, do you check in? The sudden sound of the system made Ronan sluggish for a moment. Have you checked in 1000 times? For more than 10 years, the total number of check-ins is probably almost 1000. However, I did not expect that there will be special rewards for 1000 check-ins. This is a surprise. Ronan smiled and responded in his mind. System, sign in. I am looking forward to what the so-called special reward is. Advertisement, ding. Successful sign-in for the 1000th time. Congratulations to host. Get a reward. Dimensional Breaker. Dimensional Wall Breaker. A taboo item from the Transcendence Civilization. The Transcendence Civilization is the supreme existence above the God-level civilization. Civilized individuals are eternal and immortal. You can use the Dimensional Breaker to travel through the endless multiverse universe. After each use, cool down and charge. The energy time is 100 years, and the charged energy is the source of energy for the world. Ronan looked at this reward dumbfounded. He knew it was an amazing thing when he heard it. It was used to break the dimensional wall. But it takes 100 years to charge up, and what is the so-called world source energy? Ronan has no idea what the world source energy is, but the ability of the Yuan Wall Breaker this time is really terrifying. Something that can break the dimension wall, that is to say, Ronan can travel to other worlds with this. The civilization of transcendence, the civilization above the god-level civilization, the individual is eternal and immortal. Isn't this a saint for everyone? Isn't that strong? It's terrifying. Ronan sighed, and he became vigilant again. The strength of the original demigod level made him a little complacent, but this is only to dominate the world of One Piece. For the multiverse, the heavens and the world, this strength it's really nothing, let alone the so-called god-level civilization and the transcendence civilization that invented the dimensional wall-breaking machine. This is the eternal and immortal supreme civilization of all saints. What a terrifying civilization that can travel through the multiverse at will. If Ronan encounters this kind of civilization now, no, even if he encounters a god-level civilization, he can only be beaten and beaten. The system, the use of the dimensional wallbreaker, is it to randomly traverse other worlds, or can you choose to traverse? Ronan should ask this point clearly. If it is the opposite of the open world, it is a god-level civilization, or is it fell directly into the fairy realm and the like, and I didn't know how to die. I can't control the destination across the world on my own, the system said. But you can know the level of the opposite world. World class? Ronan raised his brows and continued to ask. If he didn't figure out these questions, he wouldn't dare to start crossing at will. Yes, host. The world level is divided from the strongest power level it can accommodate. It is divided into 5 levels. Ordinary level, low military level, high military level, gods and demons level, and prehistoric level. Multiverse level, not counted. This hierarchical name may be different in different worlds. My name is to facilitate the understanding of host. For example, the gods and demons can also be called the immortal martial level, and the prehistoric level can also be called the creation level, and so on. Ronan nodded, combed through the information, and was quite shocked. After coming to the world of One Piece and getting the system, he knew that there were not only ordinary worlds like the real world, but also various powerful heaven-defying ones. The level of the world of the heavens and the world of One Piece may be higher than that of the low martial arts, and can barely enter the high martial world rating, but for those gods and demons and immortal martial worlds, it is still too low, let alone the creation of the world. Level, that is a world that can accommodate eternal and immortal saints. Advertisement. With that said, the world levels of the major animation worlds are also different. Should the Dragon Ball be able to barely be called the prehistoric level? The Marvel world is definitely enough to call it a great creation class, where there are too many horrors. As for the real world, it must be an ordinary level, but I don't know if the real world dimension is very high. Thinking of this, Ronan immediately asked, System, what level is the real world? Is it an ordinary level? Can the dimensional wall-breaking mechanism bring me back to reality? Host, the real world belongs to the high-dimensional world, and is above the multiverse level. Radiation affects the endless multiverse. Of course, the actual Earth on which Host is located is only an ordinary level, and there is no extraordinary power. But in the galaxy and the universe, there are many civilizations. Of course there are god-level civilizations. The calm answer of the system shocked Ronan. It turned out that there are really extraterrestrial civilizations in the real world, many of them, and there are even god-level civilizations. This is news that shocks the entire human race on Earth. As for whether the dimensional breaker mentioned by Host can bring Host back to reality, it is not possible at this time. The system answered another question from Ronan. Not for the time being. Why? Ronan immediately asked when he heard this. Not for the time being. That means it will be fine in the future? Because the level of the real world is higher than the multiverse and belongs to the high-dimensional world. The dimensional breaker cannot bring the Host back to reality. The system said, but when the Host has checked in 10,000 times, you will get a piece from the origin civilization. Item. Chaos Shuttle, and the strength of the Host must reach the same level. After possessing the immortal essence, it can perform the dimensional shuttle and return to the real world. Sage level, immortal essence, shuttle of dimensions. Ronan muttered to himself, chanting these unfamiliar words. He began to come into contact with the knowledge of the heavens and the world and the high-dimensional world. These things are very important. After he resists the gods and demons and even the saints in the future, of course, he will not be able to stay for the rest of his life. The world of One Piece, this world is too small, like a small pond that cannot hold a giant dragon. He cannot be locked in such a small world. In the future, he will inevitably go to the heavens and the worlds. Sign in all major worlds, so the rewards will be much better than the rewards for signing in on this island. He could feel, and even the system had told him that the Xuanyuanzhan kind of fairy artifact that he signed in last time is already the apex of rewards for signing in this world. Even if he resists the god level, he cannot get better. The reward for being able to cultivate to the same level or above is impossible to obtain here. As for the fragments of the power of the Phoenix, the precious things have only been obtained for more than 10 years. I want to obtain the remaining Phoenix. The fragments of the power of the rules, it is said that you must go to the Marvel world. Chapter 174 Xyluobu Village. Kaya and Usopp. I have arrived in Xyluobu Village. The island on which this small village is located is really small. There is no decent port for boats. Even Shanks and his party who arrived on the island where the village is located just docked the boats at a simple dock. Nan and Mihawk naturally did the same. After walking into the village, Shanks who received the news greeted him at the entrance of the village. You two finally came. Shanks and Usopp beside them greeted them with a smile. How is the trip to Shimotsuki village going? Well? It went well. Ronan replied with a smile, and looked at a young man with a long nose next to Usopp. The young man's eyes were bright, but the whole person looked a little simple and honest. Captain Ronan, this is my son Usopp. Seeing Ronan's eyes on the boy, Usopp quickly introduced. Hello, Captain Ronan, Usopp greeted Ronan quickly. Hello. Ronan nodded and said with a smile. After the few people greeted them, they returned to the village together and arrived at Usopp's house. Originally, this guy was an orphan and was not very popular in the village. It was okay to play with only a few children. The villagers were often deceived by Usopp. After a long time, I feel that this kind of child who likes to lie is not good, so naturally I will not wait to see him. But that was all before. Now Usopp is back, and he is driving a big boat with a lot of supplies and money. The first thing is to renovate the house. The Usopp house is now the most luxurious place in the village. Even Usopp, who was originally inferior, straightened up when he saw the other villagers, and those good friends who played with him even transmitted envious eyes, making Usopp full of pride. His mother did not cheat. My father really went to the sea to roam, and now he came back to see that he was indeed a big man. Usopp has been eating big fish and meat for many days. On this day, he is going to take his friends to the outskirts not far away, where he has a little secret. Hurry up, I brought a great gift to Miss Kaya today, she will be very happy to see it. Usopp said excitedly, holding a magical conch that his father gave him. This is a magical conch from New World, which can play wonderful music. His first idea was to give it to Kaya. Usopp, what are you doing in such a hurry? A turnip beside him gasped. Advertisement, yes, yeah, don't run so fast, wait for us. Kendo also shouted tired. Miss Kaya is there and won't run anymore, let's take a break. What's the rest? Miss Kaya must have been waiting anxiously. We haven't visited her for several days, and we don't know if her illness is cured. Usopp said worriedly. Usopp, when I was waiting for you at your door. I seem to have heard the words of your father's distinguished guests. Turnip suddenly whispered, that big man named Ronan seems to have a kind of magic the medicine can heal very serious injuries and diseases. If we have this medicine, it will definitely cure Miss Kaya's illness. Really? When Usopp heard this, he was overjoyed, staring at the turnip head with wide eyes. Of course it is true. Anyway, what I heard is this. The man carrying the big sword said that he had nearly died in a comparison with someone before. He was rescued by this miraculous potion. Look, he almost died. Anyone can be saved. Miss Kaya's disease is definitely not a problem, right? Turnip said. This, so powerful? Kendo on the side also widened his eyes. He had never heard of such a powerful potion in the world. Usopp, I think you can steal this potion for Miss Kaya to use. Turnip said. Several children like Kaya very much. Every time she sees Miss Kaya being tortured by her illness, she feels very sad. Among them, Usopp is the most uncomfortable one. If you want to come for Miss Kaya, Usopp will definitely find a way to steal the medicine. But that's someone's thing. How can I steal someone's thing? Usopp said hesitantly. He desperately wants to cure Miss Kaya's illness, but there is no way. Miss Kaya's family belongs to the richest family on the entire island. Even they can't cure the illness themselves. What can he do? Kaya's parents were originally wealthy businessmen doing business in the sea. Later, because they were tired of the life of drifting in the ocean, they settled down on this remote island. At the same time, Kaya's parents themselves also had this disease. Even he also passed away a few years ago, leaving Kaya a lonely life. Occasionally, Usopp came to the manor where Kaya was located. Kaya had almost never been out of the manor. They had fun with a few friends. Usopp came to visit Kaya from time to time, telling jokes and stories to Kaya. Several people came to the manor again, secretly escaped the guards of the manor guard, came to the window of Kaya's room, climbed up the tree, and saw Kaya sitting alone in the window. Wow, it's really okay, it's so nice, Kaya cried out happily, but as soon as he got excited, his face turned abnormally red and coughed. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Then I'll give it a try. Kaya puffed up her cheeks and slowly blew the conch. As expected, a pleasant sound came out, which was very beautiful. Advertisement. I'm fine. Kaya was dizzy, stroking his forehead, and looked at Usopp apologetically and gratefully. Usopp, thank you for giving me such a precious gift. That's great, Usopp. In this case, you don't have to live in a leaky house anymore. Kaya was also happy for Usopp, and then curiously picked up the conch. Can this conch really make a good sound? Of course, you can try it. When Usopp heard this, he said anxiously. I won't lie to you. Kaya, we've heard it too, it's really possible, the carrot head under the big tree said quickly. Nothing. Usopp touched the back of his head and smirked. At this moment, there was a loud shout and rapid footsteps. Ha, it's nothing, I still have a lot of gifts from my father, and a lot of delicious foods. I'm tired of eating these days. Usopp raised his head and said proudly. My father gave me back my house has been refurbished, and now my house is bigger. Really, thank you Usopp. You are so kind. Kaya also laughed happily, and then said. But, this is a gift from your father. If you give it to me, will it be not too good? Yeah, I have blown it myself, it must be possible, Kendo also shouted. Kaya, are you okay? Usopp looked at it and suddenly shouted anxiously. Who? Usopp, you are finally here, and everyone, hello. Kaya saw Usopp's expression of joy. Her face was pale, but it was difficult to hide her lovely, gentle and beautiful face, even though she hadn't grown up yet, she is already a beautiful girl. It's you bastards again, no, I was found, run quickly. Kaya, we came to see you. Usopp greeted Kaya happily, and then presented the treasure as if to take out the magical conch from the small bag he was carrying. Kaya, my father came back to see me, the story I told you before was not a lie. My father really went to the ocean, he is now a big man, a very powerful kind. You see, this is one of the gifts he brought me when he came back. This kind of conch is very powerful and can make a very nice sound. I want to give it to you. Chapter 175, Captain Crow, Usopp's decision. Steward Crow, don't chase them. Kaya yelled from the window and saw that in the manor below, a young man in a black dress was leading a group of guards to chase and drive the teenagers headed by Usopp. These damn lowly fellows, come to look for things again. Butler Crow cursed in a low voice, then his face turned straight and righteously turned his head to look at Kaya. Miss Kaya, you should take medicine. Don't mix with these people again next time. Kaya sounded a little uncomfortable, but he didn't dare to refute. The housekeeper was arranged before his parents died, and he had to follow his arrangement to treat the disease. Unfortunately, the disease has not been cured, and the housekeeper was locked in the manor. Inside, no going out is allowed. Seeing Kaya going to take the medicine, Klo nodded in satisfaction, then his eyes started thinking deeply. As the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, he came here last year, lurked into the manor, and gained the trust of Kaya's parents. After the death of Kaya's parents, he was planning how to seize all the wealth of the Kaya family. It's unlikely that he would seize them by force alone. Although the gardeners, guards, etc. here obeyed his arrangements, they were the ones left behind by Kaya's parents. They were grateful to Kaya's parents for taking them in. Isshin guarded Kaya and wanted to buy them. These people are too difficult. So Captain Crow was prepared for a long-term plan, and wanted to spend a few years to get this manor and the wealth that Kaya's parents might leave. However, the plan can't keep up with the changes. I never expected that the two emperors of New World would come to such a remote island, it's incredible. Crow felt a toothache, and now he was a little frightened, for fear of being known by the two emperors of his existence. If the other party knew about his existence, he would still be better off as a pirate. Zhao Ming, if you can't get used to it, maybe you will kill yourself and monopolize this manor and wealth. Would you like to send a signal to let other people from the pirate group come over and grab it directly by force? Cloth thought for a while, then shook his head. No, I still know how many djinns of those guys are, even if I add me. It may be the opponents of the two emperors, direct use of force is to seek death. Oh, let's take a step by step and hide yourself first. My current identity is just an ordinary butler. Advertisement, Usopp, you run so fast. Turnip Head panted and said to Usopp who was ahead. Those guys didn't chase, let's take a break. Didn't you come here? Usopp was also a little tired. He looked behind him. Sure enough, the guards did not chase too far. Usopp wiped his sweat and said to the two behind him, since they are all safe, then you guys. I'll go back by myself later, I'll go back first. Turnip, the news about the medicine you said is true, isn't it? I'll think of a way. Of course it is true, Usopp, are you really ready to do it? Turnip's eyes lit up, and then he hesitated. That Ronan is a big man. If you are discovered, you will definitely be killed. Usopp, you can rest assured, even if you are really beaten to death, you must get the medicine. We will help you complete the next task. Ms. Kaya's disease will definitely be cured, Kendo solemnly said. You guys, say something nice. How could I be beaten to death? Usopp flipped over by Kugan and said, I'm going to ask my father for help. That Mr. Ronan doesn't look like a bad person, he should help me. Well, what if someone doesn't agree to give you medicine? Kendo asked. Then, let's talk about it then, anyway, I don't want to steal things from others. Usopp frowned and said. Cut, we used to steal food together. The two looked at Usopp contemptuously. Are you leaving? Mihawk nodded. It's almost time. After I leave East Blue, I will go to North Blue. There should be some Kendo masters over there. I have to see and see. Well, it's almost time. Captain, you are also very busy. There are still a lot of things you need to deal with in New World. This time because of my business, you bother, Usopp said apologetically. Ronan, do you want to come with me? Mihawk turned to look at Ronan and asked expectantly. Just then, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door and Usopp returned. Ronan, your Aaron Island is really busy, but you don't need to be too busy. Your crew is really amazing. Aaron Island is really thriving under their management, Shanks said enviously. Advertisement. None of the women are simple, and they have great management skills. It can be said that Aaron Island's current status in the New World Business Center is mostly due to them. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Father came back with great difficulty, and he couldn't let him down. In Usopp's home, Ronan and Shanks, Hawkeye and Usopp, The four are playing cards, leisurely. What are you talking about? You are my crew member, everyone is brothers, and they are all family members. Shanks patted Usopp on the shoulder. He treats his crew like brothers, like Whitebeard. Treat as a family member. Several of Ronan's crew, whether it is Orovia and Robin, or Dana and Elena, have helped Ronan take charge of Eren Island for more than 10 years. They are doing many things, and Ronan himself will not go. Worry about those things. Haha, that's my good vision. Ronan laughed and lost 2 cards on the table. Forget it, I have to go back to Eren Island. Ronan shook his head. After being out for such a long time, maybe the women in the family are waiting in a hurry, right? Father, me, I have something to tell you. Usopp thought, ran back towards home. Speaking of Usopp, I also watched the visit to your son. I have been here for a few days. It's time for us to leave, right? Shanks threw a card and said to Usopp. It's just something to eat, such medicine must be very precious. Besides, I can't steal it. That Ronan is the same big man as my father's captain. I heard from my father that he is very, very powerful. Usopp, I still don't have any confidence at all. I feel that I can't steal something from others. On the one hand, I don't want to do it. If my father knows about it, I might really kill myself. North Blue? I heard that the food there is good, Ronan said with a smile. Chapter 176 Promise. Stop Ronan. What's the matter? You look a little strange. Usopp asked curiously. Even Ronan and the others looked at Usopp curiously, not knowing what was going on with this boy. Me? Usopp glanced at Ronan with a twist, which surprised Ronan. Is it still related to himself? Well, I heard that Mr. Ronan has a medicine that can treat serious injuries and diseases. I want to ask if there is any such medicine. Usopp said embarrassedly. It stands to reason that this medicine must be very precious. Why'd I get it from Mr. Ronan? With his father's face? Usopp, what do you ask this for? Usopp's expression changed, and he quickly scolded. Don't get excited, Usopp. Can you tell me why you are asking about this medicine? Ronan smiled slightly, waved his hand to let Usopp not get excited, and then turned to ask Usopp. In fact, he was relieved in his heart. It should be Kaya's business that made Usopp. So asked. Well, I have a friend who has a disease that is difficult to cure, so I want to ask you if you have this medicine. Don't worry, I know this medicine must be very precious. I will definitely make money in the future. Here you are. Usopp squeezed his fist and said solemnly. Usopp, what are you talking about? That kind of healing potion is worth tens of millions of Baileys. What are you paying for? Usopp suddenly said coldly. Stop talking about you, even if you lousy, I can't afford it. What are you? My friend, is it worth your cost to ask for medicine? Why doesn't he come by himself? My friend is Kaya, and her home is next door to the village. She is physically inconvenient and can't come over, so I will ask first. Usopp lowered his head and said softly. Haha. Shanks on the side chuckled. I know that manor, it should be regarded as the richest family on this island. I heard that the owner of the manor is called Kaya. Her parents died of illness a year ago. It seems to be a genetic disease, and it is also a bit pitiful. That can't be the case. Usopp shook his head and said, if she comes to ask for the medicine herself, Mr. Ronan can still decide whether to administer the medicine according to the situation, and she has to spend money. Her manor does not look bad, and it is also a wealthy man. The family should be able to afford medicine, but what does it mean to let Usopp come? Is my son taken advantage of? Advertisement? No, Dad. Kaya doesn't know about it. I decided it myself, Mr. Ronan, if you don't want it, it's okay. Usopp said with a low expression, wanting to rely on his father's relationship to force Ronan. It is absolutely impossible to take out the potion, but now it is impossible to get the potion depending on the situation, so Usopp feels a little depressed. When did I say not to administer the dose? Ronan smiled calmly. Don't listen to what your father said. This potion was indeed very expensive when it was auctioned, but it was not so rare in my hands. Let's take me to see your friend. This potion is not a panacea. Yes, most injuries and diseases can be cured, but some rare diseases cannot be cured. Okay, thank you Mr. Ronan, thank you. Usopp almost jumped up happily, and quickly thanked Ronan. Hey, you, Mr. Ronan. Usopp was a little embarrassed when he heard this. His son didn't know Ronan's specific identity and made such an excessive request, but Usopp was taken aback, and now Ronan is really real. He was willing to help his friend, which was a bit unexpected by Usopp. Needless to say, this potion can be used to save lives, and it is not a waste. Ronan smiled gently. Mr. Ronan is so kind, sometimes I don't think you are like a pirate. Usopp scratched his head. Haha, aren't the pirates all evildoers? Ronan smiled and said, for example, your red-hair pirates, Whitebeard pirates. Many of them are not the kind of villains who just rob. Of course, say. The evil pirates is not a false propaganda of the world government. Most pirates are indeed burning, killing, looting and doing no evil. We can only take care of ourselves. If the 5 emperors such as Shanks and I really use our own strength to suppress all the pirates in New World, everyone will no longer do evil, no longer plunder wealth. Is that pirate, or is it a pirate? Ronan, there is some truth in what you said. What we can do is restrain our own people. In fact, even the 5 emperors, the Ant and Kaido's pirate group have actually done a lot of looting. Shanks said and waved his hand. Said, don't say this, we will continue to play cards. Usopp waited patiently for a while. Kaya had endured the disease for so many years, and it was not too late for a few minutes. After the card game, Ronan took Usopp to the Kaya Manor by himself, and the others did not join in the fun. After coming to the manor, Usopp hesitated again. He used to come here, but he used to drill holes and climb walls and trees, but this time Mr. Ronan came together. It is impossible for people to drill holes and climb trees. Why don't you leave? Ronan's expression was indifferent, with a smile at the corner of his mouth. This manor is quite big, let's go, and go in through the main entrance. Advertisement. Ronan knew what Usopp was hesitating about, but it was impossible for him to follow Usopp to drill the hole. He just walked from the front door. He was here to treat Kaya, there was no need to sneak in. Okay. Usopp stubbornly responded, but he still reminded, Mr. Ronan, the people in this manor actually don't welcome me. When I came to Kaya to play, I was often chased by the guards. Expulsion, bad things may happen later. There is nothing to worry about this little thing, you can watch it quietly later. Ronan waved his hand. Can he still be bluffed by those guards? When they arrived at the entrance of the manor, the two heard the guards at the door shouting and drinking. Okay, Usopp, you fellow, you dared to come back? Butler Cloud took care of us specially. When you show up, we must teach you a good lesson. When Usopp heard this, he shuddered in fright and hid behind Ronan. Steward Crow? Go and ask Steward Crow to come and see me, Ronan said calmly. Boy, who are you? We are the housekeeper that you can see if you want to meet. Where did the guard know Ronan? And when he heard him say this, he immediately replied, go away quickly and don't stand in front of the door. For more than 10 years, no one has ever dared to talk to me like this. I can see if you don't know my identity, I can spare you, but the death penalty is unavoidable, and a living sin cannot escape. Ronan's expression did not change at all, but he gently raised his hand and guarded the door. The sword light burst. Haki aspect. Chapter 177. Rescue Kaya. Ronan's invitation. The sharp sword aura tore the air and pierced the skins of several guards in front of him. Blood flowed across his body. Although he was not dead, it was more uncomfortable than death. At least the sin was to be suffered. The screams of the guards at the entrance of the manor attracted Crow's attention. What's going on? What happened again? Clue frowned, feeling that his eyelids were jumping wildly these days. Something bad must have happened. Walking quickly to the entrance of the manor, before he asked the guard what was going on, he saw Ronan standing in front of the door. Luo, Ronan. Clue's eyes condensed, and he took a breath. Why did this big guy come? Is it to trouble yourself? Isn't it right, I didn't provoke him, why did he come to trouble himself? Or something else? Should I run away now? Captain Crow was entangled in his heart, but no matter how entangled he was, he could no longer be silent. The man in front of him must not provoke him, and now he remembers that it is too late to run away. Hello, gentlemen, is there anything you came to our manor for? Crow looked at Ronan very politely, and after asking a question, he looked at the guards who were howling down and said, there must be some place for these guards. Did you upset you? A good lesson, thank you for your action, so that they can know what is good or bad, and you can't provoke others casually in the future. Hey. When Usopp on the side heard this, his eyes straightened. Is this still the cruel butler of Chloe? The key to his encounter with Crow was not being beaten and expelled. Sometimes he could still see the murderous in the key of Crow's eyes. If it weren't for Miss Kaya's protection, Usopp and others would have died in the Steward of Crow. In the hands, it can be seen that the butler of Clue is not a kind person. But now the butler of Crow showed such a flattering look the moment he saw Mr. Ronan, and thanked Mr. Ronan for teaching the guards, it was speechless. Advertisement. Ronan's eyes moved and he looked at the captain of the Black Cap Pirate Group. This guy is also a ruthless man. In order to seize Kaya's property, he was born undercover at Kaya's family for several years. If Ronan didn't take action, a few years later, Luffy, Zoronami and others will arrive, and this guy will be overthrown by the protagonist team at that time. And now that he said such words, it was obvious that this guy had recognized himself, just by looking at his twinkling eyes. Listen to Usopp. The owner of the manor, Miss Kaya, has a very strange genetic disease. Let me see. Ronan put his hands on his back, his eyes cast aside Chloe lightly and said softly, lead the way. Hey, great. Butler Clue nodded immediately, leading the way respectfully, leading Ronan and Usopp towards the manor. On the ground, the guards who were still wailing were all dumbfounded at the moment, looking at Butler Clue's dog legs dumbfounded. Taking Ronan into the manor, the pain on their bodies didn't feel anymore, and they were already stunned by the scene before them. Inside the manor, in Kaya's room, Kaya is sitting on the edge of the bed with the conch that Usopp gave her. Boom boom boom. There was a knock on the door, and Kaya yelled, is it Butler Crow? Come in. Miss Kaya. After opening the door of the room, the Butler Crow said towards Kaya. This is Mr. Ronan, a big man, why don't you come over and see you soon? What? Kaya was taken aback, not knowing what happened before by Kugan. Okay, don't talk about these nonsense. Ronan waved his hand and let Chloe go away. In order to save his life, this guy really shamelessly licked himself? Here, treat me. Kaya paused, looked at Ronan and said, Mr. Ronan, thank you, but my disease is not that simple. My parents died of this disease and it is difficult to treat. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Kaya is a little confused and curious. The person in front of him does seem to have extraordinary temperament. Is it a big man from New World? He must be very powerful. Maybe he can really cure his disease. Kaya has a little expectation in his heart. Advertisement, Miss Kaya, this is Usopp. Usopp's voice sounded, and a face with a long nose came into the room and smiled at Kaya. If it is really possible, I am willing, Kaya said solemnly. Her biggest wish is to become a doctor. If Ronan can cure her own disease and help herself become a doctor, then what about the answer, woolen cloth?
Miss Kaya, this is Mr. Ronan. Usopp put away the smile on his face, and introduced Kaya with a serious face. Mr. Ronan is a big man from New World. After I went back before, I told him about your illness and asked Mr. Ronan to take care of him. Mr. Ronan agreed to my request and came here to see you.
Miss Kaya, if Mr. Ronan takes action, your illness will definitely be cured. But the fact is the fact. No matter how bizarre the scene is happening, it actually happened. Ronan is really inviting her to be the ship doctor of his pirate group.
Ronan thought for a while. In his pirate group, the navigator, the chef, and the boatman are also available. Almost all the staff are available, but there is only a boat doctor. Kaya is still in the learning stage, but with her own help, I believe she will soon become a qualified doctor.
In the future, she may be comparable to Trafalgar Law, Chopper, Man Shirley and others. She can equip Kaya with a suitable devil fruit. With his own various medicines, Kaya can definitely become a peerless doctor of the living dead. Ronan walked to Kaya's room and saw a lot of medical books in the room. Then thinking about the original book, Kaya grew up in sickness and saw her parents being tortured to death. The biggest wish of this kind girl is to become a doctor. It seems that Miss Kaya doesn't quite believe that I can cure your disease. Any request? Mr. Ronan, are you saying that you want to invite me to your pirate group and become your ship doctor? Kaya's eyes widened, her pretty face is full of disbelief, and her medical skill is half-hearted, even her own illness if they can't be cured. There are people who invite themselves to become ship doctors. Hey, Usopp. Why did you come in from the room, Mr. Chloe? Kaya was stunned. How could the butler Clue let Usopp come to her room, or from the manor, through the front door of the room? How can it be? Okay. Ronan smiled slightly and flipped his hand to take out a bottle of medicine. This is a healing medicine. You can drink it to see the effect. If nothing happens, it should cure your disease. If it doesn't work, I have others. Method. Yes. Ronan smiled and looked at Kaya, seeming to see her thoughts, and said, don't feel that you are not qualified to be a marine doctor. With me, you will soon become a qualified doctor, and as the world's top doctor. I hope you can join my pirate group and become my ship doctor. Ronan pointed to the medical books on the bookcase in the room, and smiled. If you want to come, you also want to be a doctor, don't you? Thinking of this, Ronan looked at Kaya. Miss Kaya, if I can completely cure your disease, I have a request. I hope you can agree to it. Chapter 178 Heal. Captain Crow is exposed. After the medicine was taken, Kaya felt a warm current flowing all over her body after a few minutes. Her body, which had been tortured by the disease, had never been exhausted without taking a few steps. Now, she felt full of body. The strength was lost, and the sickness, of course, disappeared with this warm current. What kind of potion is this? Why is it so powerful? Kaya was stunned for a moment, then asked quickly. This is the healing potion from Mr. Ronan. Usopp on the side saw that Kaya's complexion changed a lot, and immediately interjected. It is said that this potion is very precious, and one bottle can sell tens of millions of Baileys. Wow, is it so precious? Kaya was shocked when she heard that, so she drank the precious potion. So, do you have to agree to the party's invitation and become a member of the other party's pirate group? The other party even used such a precious potion for herself. If she doesn't agree, she must pay for the potion. Alas, it's not that she doesn't want to pay for it, but if it becomes a seller, it will take a long time. Where do those servants go? And this is the inheritance left by her parents. If it is so simple to sell, he will survive like this in the future? Miss Kaya, have you considered it? Ronan smiled indifferently, and while watching the medical books in Kaya's room, he asked Kaya, who lowered his head and thought. Mr. Ronan, I would like to ask, do you want to go to the Grand Line in New World to join your pirate group? Kaya turned to look at Ronan. At the same time, Crow, who has been paying attention to the situation here, also listened attentively. This guy came in order to plunder Kaya's family property. Looking at the situation now, Kaya is preparing to join Ronan's pirates. With that said, her wishful thinking is completely cold, because once Kaya agrees, she will as one of the members of Luo South Blue Thief Group, dare to touch her fortune? I really don't want to live anymore, I don't even think about it at all. Well, Mr. Ronan, I promised you. Kaya suddenly made a decision, agreed to Ronan's invitation, and became a member of the Traveler Pirates. Advertisement, haha, good, for joining my pirate group, I think Kaya will definitely not let you down. Ronan gave a long laugh, then turned his gaze to look at the other side. There was a person standing there, listening intently to the conversation. It was not someone else, it was the butler of Clue, who was now hiding in the shadow of the door. Eavesdrop. He won't be able to overhear it. Kaya is about to join the South Blue Thieves. What should he do next? Has his plan for so many years been put to waste? Sure enough, when Kaya really agreed to join the South Blue Thief Group, Chloe frowned. It seems that there is really no way to go. Find a time to run, look for opportunities in the future, and bring the sea. The thieves have come here to rob. When Crow was thinking about the future plunder, he suddenly felt a bitter cold all over his body, and several eyes fell on him, one of which looked like a shining mighty sky, like a god's eyes falling on him. He didn't dare to move at all on his body. Luo, Lord Ronan, why are you looking at me like this? Crow looked up with difficulty, and saw Ronan's light but deep eyes full of endless majesty. He suddenly stammered inquiries. He felt I hide it well, it's impossible to expose it so easily. Ronan is very powerful in Grand Line and New World, but this is East Blue. I don't believe you even belong to a small pirate group in East Blue. The intelligence is well known, however, the facts have completely beaten Clue.
Just listen to Ronan's voice coldly reaching Chloe's ears. Captain Chloe, your face seems a little pale, are you thinking about how to run? What captain, what run? Why should I run? Crow made a look of surprise, as if he could not understand what Ronan was talking about, but Usopp and Kaya beside him looked at him strangely.
The two never thought that the steward of Chloe turned out to be the captain of a pirate group. What exactly did he want to do while lurking in the manor? Kaya was even more frightened with a pale face. She didn't expect that her housekeeper was a pirate, or a captain of a pirate regiment sneaked in. What did she want to do? What can be coveted by the other party in your own home? Kaya is not a fool. After a little thought, I understand that it must be for the wealth left by his parents. Advertisement, Luo, Mr. Ronan. Kaya and Usopp leaned towards Ronan with a little fear, as if getting closer to Ronan would feel safe. This is indeed the case. Crow at the door originally wanted to retreat and flee immediately, but facing Ronan, it was too difficult for him to run. He couldn't run away at all. As the leader of the East Blue Pirates, he faced Ronan. No more than ordinary people. This is a peerless powerhouse who crushes Marine 3 Admiral strongly. He even dared to fight Marijoy alone 10 years ago. How can such a fierce person be his opponent? Therefore, he wanted to break his head before thinking of a way, which is to catch Kaya or Usopp, threatening to let Ronan make his own way, but unfortunately, Kaya and Usopp are not stupid. After seeing Crow's eyes, he immediately approached Luo, Nan's side. In fact, there is no need to do this at all. Ronan is here, and Crow's actions are impossible to succeed. He wants to catch what is impossible for the two under Ronan's eyes. Damn it. Seeing this, Crow suddenly cursed, and then glared at Ronan. Ronan, you are one of the 5 emperors of the New World, and both are pirates. Can't you let me live? He. You are lurking in my crew's house. You can guess what fool you want. Do you think I will let you go? Ronan smiled indifferently, and his right hand was slowly raised. Seeing this, Crow on the opposite side understood that he had no choice at all, and even if he could not escape, he would desperately fight for a way out for himself. Crow brushed it, and the figure turned into a phantom and rushed out, smashed the glass window on the 2nd floor, jumped off the 2nd floor, and ran out of the manor. Mr. Ronan, he ran away. Usopp yelled at this. But Kaya was relieved. She didn't know what Ronan's strength was. Seeing the demon lurking in the house escape, she was relieved. Chapter 179 solved. Leave. Return to Aaron Island. Don't worry, he can't run away. Ronan smiled indifferently, and wanted to run away with his eyelids lowered. How could he succeed? Crow's speed is very fast. He is the captain of the Black Cat Pirate Group. He is as flexible as a cat and is extremely fast. However, after a while, he has come to the edge of the island, where a ship is hidden. This ship is exactly the ship of Luffy's group in the original book, Going Merry. As the steward of the manor, Crow certainly knew where the ship was docked, and now he became the only ship he escaped from the island. It's so risky, I actually escaped. Chloe wiped the sweat from his forehead and said with some rejoicing. He also looked back, and he was truly relieved after he was sure that Ronan had not chased him. Then there was a burst of ecstasy in my heart, and he almost laughed. He was able to escape from Ronan. There are only a handful of people in this world who can do it, and he did it. But just when Luo was ecstatic, a dazzling light suddenly flashed in the sky, and Luo looked up, then his expression was dull. It was a huge sword glow that stretched across the sky like a meteor, and fell straight down, drowning Crow's entire body. Then, the sword glow dispersed, and Crow's entire body had disappeared and was destroyed. It is clean and there is no residue left. In the manor, Kaya and Usopp only saw Ronan wave his hand, and a dazzling light shot out between his fingers. They didn't know what happened next. Okay, Crow has been solved by me. Kaya, please clean up the rest. We will take you with you when we leave in a few days. Our pirate group is based on Aaron Island in New World. Ronan, he looked at Kaya and said. Here, are you going to leave? Kaya looked around with a bit of dismay. She has never left the manor. She has been sick since she was a child. Now, her illness has been cured, and she has also left. Manor, the ability to live in the sun, and she also promised the other party to be the doctor of the other party's pirate group. She wants to try it. Okay, Mr. Ronan, I'll clean up. Just tell me when you leave in a few days. Kaya nodded and said. Well, so be it. Ronan also nodded, and then prepared to take Usopp away.
Advertisement. But Usopp was a little lost at the moment. Kaya was about to leave, and his heart was lost, but it was Kaya himself who agreed to Mr. Ronan, and he would become the doctor Kaya had always dreamed of becoming, so he should bless her. She is cured now, and it is normal to have such a choice.
Usopp finally left with Ronan, returned to the village, and told the friends that Kaya was recovering from illness, and they all became happy. A few days later, Kaya followed Ronan and the others to leave Silobu village. The manor remained and was used by gardeners and servants. However, the ownership of the manor still belonged to Kaya, and Going Merry was also retained. Kaya originally wanted Ronan left the boat, but let her keep it for the future Luffy, but I don't know, Crow has been solved by himself, and Kaya has been taken away by himself. I don't know how Luffy and his party will get it. Going Merry. In the original book, Kaya gave the Going Merry to Luffy and his party in order to thank Luffy and his party for helping her solve the lurking pirate Captain Crow, and now, ahem, Kaya himself was fooled away by Ronan. Ronan didn't care about these issues either, but took Kaya directly back to Aaron Island in New World. Shanks, Eagle Eye and others who were with him had already left and did their own things. Wow Ronan, you went to East Blue this time, and you brought us a little sister, still such a beautiful sister. As soon as he arrived on Aaron Island, Robin appeared in front of Ronan in his manner. Now Robin is exactly what he looked like when he appeared in the original book. He is no longer young, but because of the effect of the longevity potion, Robin does not seem to be young. Old, but full of the charm of a mature woman. In the same way, even though Orovia is 40 or 50 years old at this moment, she still looks like more than a decade. Standing with Robin, it is not too much to say that she is a sister. The same is true for other girls, the effect of the longevity potion is not blowing. This is Kaya, our future ship doctor. Ronan smiled slightly and introduced Kaya to Robin and Robin to Kaya. This is Robin, an archaeologist. Hello Robin, I'm Kaya. Kaya smiled at Robin politely. Please give me some advice in the future. Hello Kaya, welcome to the island of Aaron, and welcome you to join our traveler pirate group. Robin smiled and took Kaya's hand, throwing Ronan aside, and took Kaya to play around the manor view. Ronan smiled helplessly and then left. He was absent for such a long time, although he was not worried about the situation on Aaron Island, he still wanted to see it. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Even Robin and Orovia, the mother and daughter, are also the world's top archaeologists, and their combat abilities are excellent. Hey, welcome newcomers to join. I can use all my strength to prepare this dinner, Karuman said triumphantly. Advertisement, wow, is that amazing? In the evening, after the girls came back, Ronan also returned to the manor and made a sumptuous dinner with the girls to welcome Kaya to join. Then we can enjoy this hearty meal because of sister Kaya's joining, Dana said with a gentle smile. First, I went to the city of Cullen, found the mayor, inquired about the situation of Aaron Island, and made some arrangements. At this moment, Kaya felt the pressure. Although she was cured, if she was asked to fight, she wouldn't be able to fight even an ordinary person, but she didn't need to fight. Her future position was a ship doctor, and she secretly in my heart, I must learn medical skills well in the future, not to mention becoming the world's best doctor, nor too bad, not to be a drag on the whole team. When Kaya heard this, she was immediately exclaimed. She knew that Ronan must be a big man with a lot of background. After coming to Aaron Island in New World, she naturally discovered Ronan's identity, one of the 5 emperors of New World. Nan, I learned from the newspapers and other information that the big thing Ronan did more than 10 years ago was a huge shock to Kaya. As for the healing fruit, as I said before, in showering Guo Princess Man surely, this is a devil fruit that consumes its own vitality to heal others. Of course, the healing effect is good, but unfortunately, the defects are also very huge. Of course, Ronan's first consideration still Ope Fruit. Now when I hear Orovia's words, this traveler pirate group is not just Ronan alone. There is one of the others. Everyone is very good, no one is bad. Kaya even learned from Elena that Dana, a gentle and shy shipwright girl, has a powerful heaven-defying combat power, and has the terrifying power of Thunder Fruit, the Logia Fruit. Even the entire team except Ronan, the most powerful person. Is Sister Kaya our future ship doctor? We really need a full-time doctor? Orovia said with a smile. Now, our team's configuration is basically complete. There is Dina, who is amazing. As well as the world's top chef, Karuman, and Jelena is also the world's top navigator, and of course Ronan's powerful fighters. Now our team is not only the #1 in New World, even if it is placed in the world, it is the top pirate group. In this way, Kaya sailed down on Aaron Island. Ronan was also collecting various medical books from New World and handing them to Kaya to learn. At the same time, he was also paying attention to the news of devil fruit related to medical skills. Ronan paid special attention to Ope Fruit and healing fruit. Wow, the food you cooked today Karuman is too rich, right? Elena was still like a girl, looking at the sumptuous dinner on the table, she said in amazement. These 2 fruits are in the original work. The Ope Fruit was obtained by Trafalgar Law. It was originally the fruit of Doflamingo, but the fruit was secretly given to Luo by his subordinate Corazon. Even if it was Doflamingo's younger brother, such a move made Doflamingo was furious, but the matter was over, and the anger was useless. In the end, Doflamingo had no choice but to retreat, and wanted Luo to inherit the position of the Red Hearts and succeed the 3rd Corazon. So, he found some time to go to Dressrosa to meet Doflamingo. He didn't know if Ope Fruit was eaten by Luo now. Chapter 180 A warm welcome from Doflamingo. Dressrosa, today there is a big man, not someone else, it is Ronan. Doflamingo was very solemn to Ronan's arrival and held a grand welcome ceremony. Several legion leaders of the family are all in the banquet hall, gathering, so lively. Come on, let's raise our glasses and welcome Mr. Ronan. Doflamingo took the lead to raise a glass, smiled at Ronan and said, Mr. Ronan is very busy, this time we come to Dressrosa, it really makes us happy. Yes, yeah, Mr. Ronan is one of the 5 emperors, and it is not an exaggeration to say that he is the head of the 5 emperors, Gladius said with a smile. Everyone praised. Ronan smiled indifferently, looking at the cadres, but did not see the existence of Corazon. Why aren't the cadres of the Red Hearts here? Ronan asked with a raised brow. Mr. Ronan is here, is there something to do with Rosinante? Doflamingo asked curiously. He was also wondering why Ronan came to his site. The welcome must be a warm welcome. After all, Ronan's identity is there, and it is impossible to be indifferent, but he also really wants to know that Ronan is here. The purpose of being able to make friends with such a big man is definitely beneficial. Even if he keeps in touch with Kaido now, and even has a lot of business contacts, Kaido and Ronan are far behind.
There is indeed something to find him. Ronan nodded and said, I heard that he is now anxious for a patient, looking for a doctor to treat the disease. No, I happen to have some medicine in my hand, which should be able to solve his problem.
Upon hearing this, not only Doflamingo but also all the other officials were stunned. Feelings like you, Ronan, is here to help Corazon? Help Corazon treat a person? What the hell? Advertisement, isn't this a fake Ronan? When Ronan saw the doubts in the eyes of everyone, he immediately smiled and said, of course, I also have my own purpose. I want to make a deal with Corazon. What deal? I can also help him refer to my brother's affairs. Doflamingo was relieved immediately. He was most afraid of being courteous. Since Ronan had a purpose, he was relieved. After all, such a big man can run well. To help you is simply incomprehensible. Now that Ronan had other purposes, he was ready to listen. I do need your opinion. Ronan nodded. After all, Doflamingo and Rosinante were a little bit upset because of the Ope Fruit in the original work. Of course, the reason why Doflamingo killed Rosinante in the end was not mainly because Ope Fruit, but because Rosinante is Marine's undercover agent. This news was personally told to Doflamingo by first-generation Red Heart Virgo. Doflamingo, I wonder if you have a devil fruit in your hand? This devil fruit is called Ope Fruit? Ronan looked at Doflamingo and asked, Ope Fruit? Doflamingo's expression moved. He didn't have Ope Fruit in his hand, but he knew where the fruit was. In the hands of a large pirate with a huge group of pirates, even if he wanted to deal with it, he needed it. It costs a lot of money. Recently I heard that the big pirate contacted Marine and prepared to sell the fruit at a high price. However, the price is very expensive. Even if Doflamingo wants to buy it, there is no money. Unless he uses force to grab it, he still wants to do it. If it does, it will cost a huge price. However, Ronan is here now. It seems that the purpose is for this fruit. But why is it related to Rosinante? Do you want to make a deal with Rosinante? When Doflamingo and the others heard this, they were stunned, and then they looked at each other. Not many people know about this news. Only one place knows that it is the Little People Kingdom itself. Could Ronan be invited by the other party? Lobbyist? Then bother you. Ronan nodded. I will pay, whether it's some rare potions or money. Moreover, I also heard a news that there seems to be some people from the Shaoran country who have been killed by you, imprisoned? This is just your reward for releasing the people of Shaoringguo. For Ope Fruit, I will give you something better as a reward. Ronan said with a smile. The value of Ope Fruit is not small, the other party is really good. If Ope Fruit gets it, he doesn't mind paying a higher price. The so-called higher price is only for others, and for Ronan, it is a trivial matter. Advertisement. How embarrassing it is. When Ronan heard the words, his heart was immediately refreshed. It was pleasing to see Doflamingo in front of him. This person is very easy to talk in front of him. In fact, in the whole pirate world, this Doflamingo is a real thorn. Once dared to hijack the Heavenly Golden Fleet, confronted 5 elders head-on, and occupied Dressrosa. Whether it was slave trade or all kinds of illegal weapon smuggling, they all did so well. Such an arrogant and domineering the character is very humble and gentle when facing himself.
I don't know. The others were shaking their heads. Has he successfully obtained Ope Fruit? Doflamingo raised his brows, a little surprised. That big pirate is not easy to deal with.
Even other cadres were surprised to look at the medicine on the table, not to mention the precious longevity medicine, just the healing medicine, but the healing medicine with heaven-defying effect. Almost any serious injury can be cured, and it can also be used to cure all kinds of stubborn diseases. Having such a bottle of medicine is equivalent to one more life. Even the sugar on the side looked at these potions with joy. With these potions, the strength of the entire Don Quixote family will increase dramatically. Doflamingo gave face, and Ronan couldn't really shake his face. He smiled lightly and took out a few things and put them on the table. This is a bottle of longevity potion, 10 bottles of healing potions, and a few devil fruit. Young master, Baby 5 on the side seemed to think of something, she said. Corazon came back a while ago, and seems to have learned about this fruit. I think I should have already gone to seize this fruit, so Luo Mr. Nan had the sentence just now. Doflamingo stared at the potions on the table. As for the devil fruit, he didn't care, but these 11 bottles of potions made him ecstatic, and even the expression on his face couldn't conceal the surprise in his heart. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. It's a bargain, it's a bargain, it's a bargain to exchange such a bunch of good things with those little humans. Well, Mr. Ronan will stay with me when the meal is over. I will find a way to contact Rosinante, and I will find a way to confirm the news of Ope Fruit. Doflamingo laughed and said politely to Ronan. Since you said so, then I can't treat you badly. That's true. Doflamingo's eyes flickered, and he said, Mr. Ronan, is it the king of the Lilliputian who asked you to rescue those people from Lilliputian? If that is the case, then I must give you face, but only a few hundred little people. Chapter 181 Invite Man Shirley to join. These potions were divided by Doflamingo, and not all of them were left alone for him. This person is still very good to him. The other side also arranged for the release of all the villains. Regarding the things that promised Ronan, Doflamingo will of course not do anything wrong, but will do it very faithfully. After being caught by Doflamingo, the hundreds of people from the little human race were locked up and forced to work. It is no one else who manages these people, but the sugar, the owner of the childlike fruit. When the villain headed by Man Shirley was released, he was still at a loss, not knowing what happened. Doflamingo suddenly decided to release himself and others. What the hell is this? Man Shelley, you said, why did the big villain Doflamingo let us suddenly? A little human girl asked Princess Man Shelley curiously. I don't know either. Man Shirley was also at a loss at the moment. After she was captured, although she had always wanted to resist and escape, but she was unsuccessful, and was threatened by Doflamingo for the lives of her clan, and she had to do something for the other party. But now, I don't know what the situation is. Doflamingo actually released his group. What happened? Is it because my father and Doflamingo have reached an agreement? With such doubts, Man Shirley and her group finally left Dressrosa. Just after leaving, Shirley Man saw a human being waiting on the road ahead. Advertisement. You. Who are you? A little human race asked nervously. Could it be that Doflamingo regretted it again? Don't talk about Ella. This is not Doflamingo's subordinate, but the 5 emperors of our new world. When the other villains were nervous, Man Shirley had already recognized Ronan. After all, it was with ordinary people. Different, as a princess, Man Shirley has a much higher vision, so she naturally knows Ronan's information. Princess Mancheri. Ronan smiled slightly and looked at the princess of Shaoringguo in front of him. She was indeed very beautiful, mainly because of her petite and exquisite figure and too cute. Hello, Mr. Ronan. Shirley is not proud of her identity as a princess. What's more, this is in front of Ronan. This is one of the 5 emperors. Anyone in this world is one of the 5 emperors Ronan. In front of him, there is no right to be proud. Mr. Ronan, could it be that it was your reason that Doflamingo released us? After Man Shirley greeted her, she suddenly moved in her heart. She looked at Ronan in surprise and asked to prove it. Not bad. Ronan smiled and nodded. It is true that I paid some price to let Doflamingo release you. Wow, you really came forward, thank you so much, Man Shirley said happily immediately. With Ronan coming out, Doflamingo naturally didn't dare to say anything. Man Shueli, you and your Wubai people are basically free now and can return to the kingdom of Dongtada. However, I want to invite you to join my pirate group. I don't know if you want to, Ronan laughed. He said. As long as you join my pirate group, you will naturally get my protection. From now on, your entire Dongtada kingdom will be under my protection. There is also a doctor in my pirate group. If you cooperate with you, we'll become the world's top medical portfolio. How about it? Think about it. Hey. This. When Man Shirley heard Ronan's words, she was a little stunned. She didn't expect Ronan to come to solicit her, but as the princess of the kingdom, it is a bit uncomfortable to join other pirate groups rashly. Yes, but Ronan is in front of him, not the unknown little pirate group, and Ronan is right. Once he joins the other party's pirate group, with Ronan's protection, the kingdom of Dongtada will be foolproof and there will be no one dare to provoke the villain. Mr. Ronan, I have to go back and discuss it with my father, and I have to take the people back, Man Shueli said. Okay, no problem, you go back to discuss with your father, and consider my suggestion. Ronan was not too anxious. He wanted to come to the mind of the king of Tata, and he should not refuse his proposal, even though he did not. It means forced, but his status as one of the 5 emperors is enough for King Dongtada to treat it seriously. Man Shirley left with the people. Ronan also returned to Dressrosa. Advertisement on the way back, he was still thinking, since Man Shirley is in hand, why is Rosinante still looking for other treatments for Luo? Isn't Man Shirley's healing power also unable to cure Luo's disease? From the original work, healing fruit can treat almost all traumatic injuries, and any injuries suffered in battle can be cured, but in terms of diseases, especially congenital genetic diseases, it has no outstanding performance. Ope Fruit, surgery can be used to cure the disease, but the treatment of injuries caused by sword fighting is weaker than the cure. In this way, Ope Fruit's ability is indeed much stronger than healing fruit, and the cost of using healing fruit is a bit too high. In contrast, Ope Fruit is stronger. If Ope Fruit gets it, after Kaya is used, Man Shirley joins in again, then the 2 fruits are invincible when combined, okay? Back to Dressrosa, Doflamingo arranged for him in the room. After a short wait, there was news from Doflamingo that there was news about Ope Fruit. Mr. Ronan, according to our news, Marine has already completed the deal with the big pirate. My brother didn't succeed. It's a pity, Doflamingo said with some regret, but there was some haze in the depths of his eyes. His news came from the spy he arranged for Marine. The spy also sent a special message. His younger brother, the current courson, seems to be in contact with Marine. Originally this Ope Fruit the transaction is a very secret thing, but Rosinante knows it. There must be a reason for it, something that can be understood by thinking carefully. Well, let me take a trip myself. No matter what, you also helped me get news of Ope Fruit. When Ope Fruit gets it, I will prepare another reward for you. Speaking, Ronan got up and was about to leave. How can this work? Ope Fruit didn't hand it to Mr. Ronan from my hand. You don't have to prepare for compensation anymore. Doflamingo waved his hand quickly. It's settled. You give me the specific information, but don't let Marine transfer the fruit away. In that case, you have to run to Marineford. If you want to come to the new Marshal Sengoku, you don't want to see me come to Naval again. Headquarters, Ronan smiled lightly. Chapter 182. Prestige. Ronan's sense of oppression. New World. The current New World pattern is very clear, basically belonging to the 5 Emperors' domain. Even for Marine, there is only a small fleet wandering around New World, and there is only a small base. This is due to the fact that the 5 Emperors did not move this fleet when the world government joined the country to communicate with New World. Otherwise, such a fleet would simply not exist in New World. Compared with the original, the current New World, with Ronan's existence, is much stronger. Leading the Marine fleet in such a strong New World is really thankless. This time the headquarters also sent a message to trade with a large pirate to buy a devil fruit, which is a very magical fruit, Ope Fruit. Therefore, the Marine New World branch fleet, under the leadership of a vice admiral, met and communicated with the big pirate, and finally bought the Ope Fruit at a terrifying price of 2 billion Baileys. The big pirate was happy. I left, and Marine didn't have any losses. The money came from the headquarters, and the headquarters obeyed Marijoy's orders. So, in the end, the money came from Marijoy. 2 billion Baileys and a devil fruit. This is really unexpected to many people. The price is too expensive. The entire fleet is terrified. Don't make any accidents. I hope to return smoothly, headquarters. However, the good and bad spirits, the more they look forward to avoiding accidents, the more they will happen. At this moment, a figure flew from a distance and stood proudly above the fleet in midair. Who are you? A seaman standing on the observation deck shouted. This is the Marine New World branch fleet. Dare to stop us, Marine. No matter who you are, you must accept Marine's trial. When did Marine dare to judge me? Ronan's calm voice fell from the sky. The young Marines didn't know yet, but the commander of this fleet, the vice admiral from naval headquarters, suddenly changed his face after hearing Ronan's voice. Yes, Ronan? He ran out and looked at the sky. There was a figure with his hands on his back and looked down at him. Advertisement? Oh. Anyone who knows me. Since you know me, it's easy to say. Ronan focused his eyes on the vice admiral who walked out of the cabin. I heard that you bought a devil fruit from a big pirate. I liked this fruit. How much did you spend? I bought it. Ronan didn't forcefully rob, but planned to buy at the original price. In any case, he is now one of the 5 emperors, and it is impossible to do that kind of low-level looting. What? Do you want Ope Fruit? When Vice Admiral heard this, his face changed drastically. This was an order from naval headquarters in Marijoy, which made him have to take the Ope Fruit seat belt. When I went back, I didn't know that Cheng Yaojin appeared halfway through. Ronan was much scarier than Cheng Yaojin. What? Don't tell me that you don't have one, and don't say that you don't sell it. Otherwise, I don't mind grabbing it once. After all, I am also a pirate. If the other party is unwilling to trade, Ronan certainly doesn't mind doing it. It depends on whether the other party is acquainted. Here. The Vice Admiral looked tangled, with a dilemma. To be honest, facing Ronan's existence, let alone Vice Admiral, even if the 3 Admiral came, it would not be useful. How can there be any choice? He doesn't have any right to choose, but if he really hands over the fruit to the other party, he will definitely face accountability from the Marshal in Marijoy when he returns to the headquarters. The future will definitely be cool. However, the future is cool, compared with the coolness of the whole person right now, that is nothing. Vice Admiral is also very fast. The main reason is not to let Ronan wait. In case Ronan becomes impatient, let alone spend money to buy fruit, he will probably take pictures of his entire fleet. Gone. However, now, this Ope Fruit has been obtained by Ronan, waiting for Man Shirley to join in the future, with Kaya who owns Ope Fruit. This partner is invincible. Yes, I'm very satisfied. How much did you spend on acquiring this fruit? Ronan nodded and asked. This. Okay, you were right. The staff member was speechless, and after a long time struggle, he nodded helplessly. You have considered it well. This is Ronan. Although 10 years ago I haven't experienced those things, but I've heard the seniors talk about it. Such a character is not something we can offend. God, 10 years ago, I dared to hit Marineford, Marijoy, such a monster, who dared to offend. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Advertisement. Without thinking about it for too long, the Vice Admiral of the headquarters immediately raised his head and said, it's thanks to Mr. Ronan. Since Mr. Ronan has spoken himself, let you give this fruit. Ignoring the muttering of the Marines on the deck of the fleet below, Ronan stood proudly in the air, waiting for the Vice Admiral's actions. Soon, Vice Admiral personally took out a devil fruit in the box and handed it to Ronan respectfully. Haha, well, it seems that you are indeed a conscious person. In that case, I will not destroy your fleet. Shish, keep your voice down. All these Marines were greatly relieved to be able to save their lives in front of Ronan.
Ronan smiled indifferently, but what he said made the Marines below shudder. They remembered the legend about Ronan. Basically, it was killing people with one shot.
A lot of them were killed. More than 10 years ago, I don't know how much. The sea soldier died in his hands, not to mention a few thousand, and to say at least tens of thousands.
After all, this is Ronan. However, beside the headquarters Vice Admiral, a staff officer of the headquarters looked a little ugly. He whispered to the headquarters Vice Admiral, Your Excellency, that fruit is needed by the headquarters in Marijoy. It takes it very seriously. Simply gave it to Ronan. Well, Mr. Ronan, we spent 2 billion Bailey to buy it from the big pirate. If you think the price is too high, you can just give it a little bit. The headquarters in Marijoy, I will do your best to communicate.
Vice Admiral nodded and said with a bow, he looked flattering. There was no way. Ronan had to be served. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any good fruits to eat. He even wanted to give devil fruit to Ronan for free. Now, as for naval headquarters in Marijoy, he thinks that after hearing Ronan's name, the people over there probably wouldn't blame him. 2 billion Baileys? Actually, for this fruit, the price is not expensive. Ronan smiled lightly. The price is indeed not expensive. Even the world government in the original book is willing to spend 5 billion Baileys to buy this one. Fruitful, it's a pity that in the end this fruit was in Luo's hands. Ronan landed on the flagship deck of the fleet, holding the devil fruit handed over by Vice Admiral, with a satisfied look on his face. This guy is still very sensible. No, what if you don't? You tell me. Now Ronan asks, what should I do? Refuse. The Vice Admiral looked calmly at the staff officer. Chapter 183. Empress Man Shirley Vivi Nami joins. Ope Fruit was bought by Ronan, and the people in this fleet had to return to the branch base in a desperate manner. At the same time, they called Marineford and reported the incident. Marineford was furious when he learned that Ope Fruit had been cut off halfway, but when the staff member said that the cut was Ronan, the whole Marineford was silent. Even Marijoy, who was most looking forward to Ope Fruit, did not punish the New World branch base. On the other side, in the kingdom of Dantata, when he learned that his daughter had returned with 500 little human races, King Dantata was immediately overjoyed. After a while, he settled down for a while before he learned of the incident from Man Shirley. After listening to Man Shirley talking about Ronan's invitation, the King Tata's eyes flashed. If the Emperor had shelter, indeed, no one would dare to bully the villain in the future. Man Shirley, I think Mr. Ronan's words are very reasonable. If you join his pirate group, our little human race will be protected by him, and you will not have any loss. I cannot take your life to safety, in exchange for benefits. And those who joined the South Blue Thief group in the past, everyone is living very well. It can be seen that Mr. Ronan will not treat any of his subordinates wrongly. King Dantata touched his beard slowly said, well, is that so? Okay, let me join Ronan's pirates. Man Shirley twitched her pointed nose, thought it over, and agreed. Then I won't stay with you for too long, although we haven't seen each other for a long time. Let's rush to Aran Island to report as soon as possible. Understood. A few days later, Man Shirley came to Aran Island. Seeing this prosperous island, Man Shirley was stunned. It was much more prosperous than Grimbot Island and even Dressrosa. There were tall buildings everywhere. There are heads fanning everywhere, and in the shops on the street, there are countless people shopping and pedestrians walking on the street, each with their heads up and chest up. Most of these people are travelers from all over New World, Ronan. The prosperous island that was created fits well with the name of the pirate group of travelers. The arrival of Man Shirley made everyone very happy. Even Ronan himself felt happy. In this regard, he even took out some potions as a meeting ceremony and gave it to Man Shirley. Next, wait a few years for the original plot to begin. However, for me, the following original plot will only be read again. There may be some differences, but I still don't have much interest. It's better. Taking advantage of this time, turn on the next Yuan wall-breaking machine. After the grand welcome ceremony, Ronan thought for a moment. Advertisement in the previous 10 years, even if the plot of the original book did not unfold, Ronan still had things to do. Sign in. Yes, he went to all parts of the world to sign in 10 years, and traveled to countless places in the world to complete. Sign in almost everywhere, the reward is soft. And now, he seems to have no place to sign in, so he can only find a way from other places. Then the only way is to go to other worlds to sign in, and according to the system, the higher the level of the world, the better the reward after signing in. In this way, looking for a higher level of world almost becomes Ronan. The only way to get closer. It's decided, let Man Shirley be familiar with everyone in the past few days, and then I'm ready to open the dimensional wall breaker. I am a little looking forward to the new world that will be opened. Ronan smiled slightly, feeling like a copy of the group. At present, even though the pirate world has been signed in by him, there is not much to search, but it still belongs to his main world, because whether it is Robin or other girls, after more than 10 years of getting along, they can't be separated anymore, and there are still feelings. The girls are all people in the pirate world. Naturally, Ronan also has a deep affection for the pirate world. So, even if a new world is opened, for Ronan, the pirate world is still the main world, and the new world belongs to the dungeon. It is the world where he searches for resources and is mainly used to sign in for rewards. And, I don't know. What specialties are there in that world? Or, you can invite some members to join in the new world. The next day, the girls took Man Shirley to visit the whole island of Aran, but Ronan had nothing to do, and the whole island of Aran didn't need him to worry too much, so he stayed in the manor leisurely and contentedly, inside. At the same time, in the first half of the Grand Line, a person who has been paying more attention to Ronan, after learning that the villain princess has joined Ronan's pirate group, also set off for New World. This person is not someone else, it is Hancock, the Empress of Amazon's daughter country. Since escaping from Marijoy 10 years ago, the Empress has been investigating who the mysterious person of Kunlun Marijoy is. It was not too difficult. She learned the information of that mysterious person, although the incident was by the world government suppressed, but the big pirates in the world naturally have their own news channels, and how can such a big thing be completely suppressed? As the queen of a country, naturally it is very simple to get relevant information. At this moment, Nami looks very young and underage, but already has an amazing mind, and has been working hard to save his oppressed hometown by the Arlong group. Are you sure? Didn't the three of you agree to get better together? At the same time, in the land of East Blue, Nami got rid of the entanglement of the Arlong group and went to New World. Coincidentally, Alabasta of the Grand Line may have changed the trajectory of fate. I can definitely join in. At that time, I will ask Mr. Ronan to help his father and solve the crisis in Alabasta. Mr. Ronan is so powerful, such a thing can definitely be done. Advertisement this time, Princess Vivi did not choose to investigate the cause of Alabasta's drought, but chose to go directly to New World, wanting to join Ronan's subordinates. After hearing Ronan's legend, I finally saved up money recently and bought a long-distance ship. With his navigator's ability, he began to head to the Grand Line and to the New World. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Ronan, I have arranged Amazon Lily to officially step down as the king. I hope you can let me join your pirate group. I heard that Ronan is very kind to the members of the pirates. Maybe joining his pirates can help me deal with the Arlong gang and save my hometown. Well, since you have come to Aran Island through many hardships, of course I will not refuse you. You are welcome to join, Ronan said. Ronan himself was thinking about when to bring these 3 people into the group. In the end, you were better off, and you sent it to the door by yourself. Then naturally it was finished. Vivi looked resolutely in the distance. The ship she was on was a merchant ship from Aran Island, which could go directly to Aran Island. She told the owner that she was going to travel to Aran Island, and as a princess of the kingdom, she would go there. Aran Island tourism has made the owner of this ship attach great importance to it. Naturally, it is very well protected during the voyage. Ronan was a little dazed, and looked at the 3 women in front of him with a bit of astonishment. Yeah, Nami and Vivi cheered and gave each other a high five. The 2 looked relatively young, 15 or 6 years old, very happy, but the Empress, who was almost 30 at the moment, and Ronan's age. Not much difference, but much more stable. In other words, after being a king for many years, he naturally has a majesty and self-respect, or pride. There is no doubt about the arrogance of the Empress, but in front of Ronan, she is still shy and cute. It looked like he was looking at Ronan secretly at this moment, especially after seeing Ronan's unparalleled beauty. Ever since, the 3 women almost arrived at Aran Island together. The Empress rushed to New World by boat with a nervous expression. This time she did not bring anyone, even if the 2 younger sisters did not bring them. The Pluton was naturally left to the new king to guard the Amazon lilies, and it's time to meet Ronan, the man who left a deep impression on her at the beginning. The Empress, Princess Vivi, and Nami, the 3 of them came to the island of Aran together as they said. They didn't know how many setbacks they had experienced before arriving here. Naturally, the sincerity of the 3 wanted them. Joining his pirate group, Ronan naturally raised his hands to welcome him. These are 3 important heroines. Chapter 184 The Fishman Island, Spike Van der Decken. The other girls all welcomed the arrival of the 3 girls. Although the Empress was proud, she had to lower her head here and build a good relationship with the other girls. The same is true for Nami and Vivi. The 2 themselves are not difficult to get along with. The relationship with other girls quickly becomes close to their long-standing friends. At the same time, the 2 also explained the reason why they had ventured here to join Ronan's subordinates. When the girls heard it, they were moved with compassion and expressed that they were willing to help both of them, but in the end, the matter was still it takes Ronan to nod. After Ronan learned about it, he looked at the 2 women. This is easy, no other people do it, let me take a trip myself. Hey. Well, thank you Captain Ronan so much. Nami and Vivi were overjoyed. Of course, Ronan would be the best to take action, and it was basically foolproof. So Ronan left Aran Island with Nami and Vivi and went from New World to the first half of the Grand Line. Interestingly, when passing by the Fishman Island Dragon Palace King Neptune invited Luo again Nan. This time, Neptune bluntly asked Ronan for help. Mr. Ronan, my daughter has suffered some threats. I ask you to help. At the same time, I am willing to persuade my daughter to join your pirate group, King Neptune said sincerely. Ronan couldn't help but his eyes moved. He had thoughts like this before. As the Poseidon of this generation, Shirahoshi has the ability to control the Sea Kings. It is indeed a good choice to be able to earn such a character under his command. Well, since King Neptune said so, I can't refuse you anymore. Ronan smiled calmly. Then, what threat is your daughter facing? There is a damn B***************** D who wants my daughter to marry him, but how can he be worthy of my daughter? Neptune said here, with a face of disdain. That guy is Van der Decken. He has a special devil fruit ability. After some explanation, Ronan and Nami Vivi both knew the details. In fact, Ronan knew the whole story as soon as he heard it. After all, there was such a paragraph in the original plot. In the end, it was Luffy and the team who solved Shirahoshi's dilemma. But now, there are still a few years before Luffy goes to sea. If Neptune does not ask for his own shot, Shirahoshi may have to stay in the hard shell tower for a few more years. After these few years, Tenten will suffer from Van der Day. Ken's threat is simply that Tenten lives in fear. Advertisement. Since Shirahoshi will become a member of her pirate group in the future, it is normal for her to resolve her plight in advance. So, Neptune brought Ronan to the hard shell tower and met Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi was still a little curious to see Ronan and the 3. She was born in the Fishman Island. She has been hiding in the hard shell tower because of Van der Dyke's threat in the last 6 or 7 years, but she hasn't seen much. Outsiders, or humans, were very curious about Ronan and his party. When he learned that Ronan was here to help him solve his problems, he was immediately happier. Ronan asked Nami and Vivi to accompany Shirahoshi, otherwise the girl would cry again. He came to the outside of the hard shell tower, and saw weapons from time to time in the air, smashing weapons on the outer wall of the hard shell tower. These weapons had axes, long knives, long swords, and all kinds of weapons. Van der Decken's devil fruit ability is just like that. The target fruit can throw the weapon out, will hit the target, unless there is something blocking the target, it will stop. He targeted Shirahoshi and kept throwing out weapons to threaten Neptune and Shirahoshi and marry Shirahoshi to himself. But how could Neptune agree to such a threat? The weapon thrown by the target fruit ability was resisted by the hard shell tower. Van der Dyke never gave up for so many years. He had to throw a few weapons every day. These weapons crossed the ocean and hit the hard shell tower. Shirahoshi lives in panic and fear every day. Kang. Just when everyone on the ship looked dumbfounded, just when Van der Deacon was about to catch the axe. This axe contains Ronan's power, crossing the sea, flying towards the outside of the Fishman Island at high speed, and directly flying to the depths of the ocean, where there is a big, tattered ship sailing under the sea. Whoosh, FK off, what did I move the old guy in Neptune? Shirahoshi, I want to move. Advertisement above this axe, there was a soft cry, and then a terrifying sword aura burst out from the axe. Below the axe, the sword aura swept across hundreds of meters in the surrounding area, instantly including the entire ship, and everything on the ship. People, including Van der Deacon, were shattered, and after the sword chi storm calmed down, the entire ship in this sea area had disappeared, let alone people. Ronan casually threw the axe in his hand, brushing the axe, turning it into streamer and disappearing outside the hard shell tower. It can be said that when Van der Deacon and others saw the axe, it meant that their ending was doomed. Yes, Princess Shirahoshi must be the captain of the captain. There was another clap of horses under him, and Van der Deacon listened, suddenly feeling comfortable. Ship, captain, then, isn't it the axe you threw out just now? Why did you come back by yourself? Could it be that you have recently awakened your ability, captain, and can control your weapons to come back automatically? A man pointed at the fast-flying axe, said towards Van der Deacon. But at this moment, there was a whistling sound in the sea. Everyone on the boat, including Van der Deacon, was taken aback, turned to look, and suddenly became sluggish. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.
Another weapon flew toward the hard shell tower. Ronan raised his brows and stretched out his hand to catch the axe. Then, with a strange smile on the corner of Ronan's mouth, he cushioned the axe in his hand. Well, let you die on the weapon you threw out.
Regardless of Ronan's only subsequent loss, in fact, with his current power, this casual loss can cause terrible damage, but under his control, he can do many incredible things, such as now. Van der Deacon glared at his hand, then snorted, Shirahoshi will be mine sooner or later.
Hey, sooner or later, Neptune will be moved by your sincerity, the captain, you will surely be able to marry Princess Shirahoshi. Behind him, a crew member flattered. Hey, come back automatically. Impossible, me, when will I have this ability? Fruit ability awakens. Why don't I know it myself? Van der Deacon also looked dazed. Don't I know his own strength? Why? Flew back by himself with the axe.
On the bow, a weird-looking man was standing on the deck with Bubbles with a triumphant smile on his face. Ha ha ha, Shirahoshi, are you still not succumbing? Neptune, you just bare to look at yourself like this. Tenten is terrified. Oh, what a cruel father. Chapter 185 Country Stealer, Shichibukai-san Crocodile. Okay, solved, the hard shell tower. Ronan clapped his hands and said. What solved it? Neptune looked at Ronan with a puzzled look, completely unable to understand what Ronan meant. I mean, that Van der Deacon has been solved by me, and Shirahoshi won't have to stay in this tower in the future, Ronan said calmly. What? Neptune was astonished. What the hell was this? It only took a few minutes to solve the big trouble he hadn't solved for many years? He didn't know that just now Ronan had just thrown his axe, he had already given Van der Deacon his second, and no one could believe that something like this would happen. However, for Ronan, Van der was just a mere Van der Deacon doesn't need him to go there in person. With Ronan's ability to strike at will, it's not much worse than Van der Deacon's ability to target the fruit. Perhaps the farther distance is not comparable to the bug-like lock on the target fruit ability, but Van der Deacon himself is around the Fishman Island. Such a distance is really nothing to Ronan. After all, he is now a demigod. Luo, Mr. Ronan, what do you mean? Could it be that the guy Van der Deacon has been dealt with? Neptune asked in disbelief, and asked again. If you don't ask, you just told Ronan. After the incident, you opened your mouth and said that it was resolved, without seeing you go to fight with Van der Deacon? Did you see the axe just now? Ronan smiled calmly and said, I threw the axe back, and there was my power on the axe. The moment the axe returned to Van der Deacon, the power exploded, and he was completely destroyed, killed. This, Neptune was completely shocked. Is there such a method? Advertisement I used to hear about how powerful Ronan, one of the 5 emperors, is so powerful, but I haven't seen it with his own eyes. Now, he has really seen it, the so-called world's largest swordsman, the world's largest swordsman, and the sea. The strongest above, how strong is it? It's ridiculous. No one has seen it, he has already killed the opponent. You don't even need to do more, it just loses an axe. This is better than this. Is it something more exaggerated? No matter how unbelievable it is, Neptune has to accept such an answer. Ronan is still not going to deceive himself, so the problem that has plagued his daughter for many years is solved in this way. Next, after Shirahoshi got out of the hard shell tower, he was not attacked by Van der Deacon again. Everyone could not help but breathe a sigh of relief, especially Shirahoshi's 3 brothers, who could see that Shirahoshi didn't need to hide in the hard shell tower, but to live freely outside. For them who love their sister, there is nothing better than this. Naturally, they are more grateful to Ronan. Neptune asked Shirahoshi if he was willing to join Ronan's pirates. Shirahoshi was pleased and agreed. She is very curious about Ronan. After all, Ronan saved her benefactor and will be able to meet Ronan in the future. Close contact and living is also something she is very happy with. Next, Ronan and the 3 will continue to go to the first half of the Grand Line. Shirahoshi is so big that she did not take her with her. Instead, she asked her to stay and reminisce with her family and have fun in the Fishman Island.
After coming out to play, Shirahoshi is very lonely.
Now that you have this opportunity, you can't miss it. Well, there will be countless opportunities to live freely outside in the future. Ronan didn't stay in Dragon Palace for too long. He just stayed for 2 days and took Nami and Vivi to leave the Fishman Island, and the next stop was to Alabasta. The boat is very fast. After leaving the Fishman Island, he did not stay at Saboti Archipelago, but headed directly towards Alabasta. If staying, it is estimated that Marineford next door will be nervous, haha. A week later, the three finally arrived at Alabasta. Vivi looked at the port happily, and said happily, I finally came back. Speaking of it, it's the first time I left Alabasta. I don't know what happened to the father and the others. Don't worry Vivi, they will be fine, and Captain Ronan will come with us this time, and he will definitely be able to help you solve the Alabasta drought problem. Didn't Ronan say that the reason for the Alabasta drought is not the weather, it's artificial? Nami interjected. Man-made, who is it that would do such an angry thing? Alabasta has no idea how many people have died because of this drought that has lasted for many years, nor do they know how many families are fragmented, wandering and fleeing everywhere. Having said this, Vivi couldn't help showing an angry look on his face, showing how disgusting people are for artificially creating droughts. Ha ha. Ronan smiled and said, that person, you must have heard of the sand crocodile, one of Shichibukai, crocodile nose? What? It's him. Advertisement. When Vivi heard this, he was shocked. He is the great benevolent of our Alabasta. After the drought, there are famines everywhere. Crocodile distributes food and water to the people for free. These are all that he paid for. I bought it from other islands, so I don't know how many people appreciate him. How could it be him? Hey, I don't think Captain Ronan can be mistaken. This person obviously has a problem. He spends money to buy food and water and distributes it to the victims for free. Isn't this just buying people's hearts? Nami put his chin on and blinked his eyes. He said, and then he couldn't help but said a little strangely, but why did he do this? What's the use of buying people's hearts? Naturally useful, Ronan replied, because Crocodile's ultimate goal is not just to see a chaos and the people are angry with the royal family. Vivi, are there many people uprising in Alabasta, and have you raised the flag to oppose the royal family? Yes, there are quite a few. There are several rebel organizations, many of them are made up of disaster victims, alas. Vivi sighed. It is normal for these people to form an uprising army to resist the royal family. After all, the famines have continued these past few days and the people have been too difficult. Naturally, they have shifted the responsibility to the royal family, thinking that this is a disaster caused by the royal family's inaction. Where did the weapons of the victims come from? Ronan smiled calmly. This crocodile provided it. While distributing food and water to the people to buy people's hearts, he supported the popular uprising. After the fall of the royal family, he will be uprised. The army is elected as the new king and leads the people out of disaster. Isn't this just a matter of course? What? Vivi was shocked. Well, this crocodile wants to rebel, want to seize the kingship of Alabasta. Otherwise, what did he put so much effort into? Ronan spread his hands. This guy is really ambitious. Nami on the side was also surprised by this crocodile, and even wanted to seize the throne of a kingdom.
Is Shichibukai's position no longer sufficient for him? I still want to seize the power of Alabasta. This crocodile is really damn it. Vivi said with a tangled expression. Now the kingdom is very difficult to face the rebels, plus one more for Crocodile, it is almost impossible to win, and Crocodile, as one of Shichibukai, has a Pluton in his hand. How can the kingdom be able to fight him with such a powerful ship?
Chapter 186, Auto-generated chapter title. The 186th chapter kills Kosha in seconds, it's raining.
Ha ha ha, Vivi, have you forgotten, who made the so-called Pluton? Ronan laughed at the words. Who? Isn't it made by a shipyard in the water capital? Vivi said suspiciously. Nami on the side moved his eyes and said, the Tong shipyard in the water capital, the backer behind the rumor is Captain Ronan. Is this rumor true?
What? That shipyard is supported by Mr. Ronan. Vivi was suddenly shocked. She was not very old, she knew everything about 10 years ago so clearly. At that time, she was just a 5 or 6 year old child and didn't even know these things. Now when I hear Nami's words, we're probably not surprised. Nami is right, that shipyard is indeed supported by me. One of Tom's disciples is still a member of my pirate group, it's Dana. Didn't you talk about it well before? Ronan shrugged his shoulders, said. Dana is from Tom's shipyard? Vivi and Nami were surprised at the same time. They did talk very well before, but they didn't talk about these things. Nothing about Tom's shipyard was mentioned, and Dana didn't mention it specifically. Speaking out is like showing off. With Dana's introverted and shy temperament, it is impossible to do such a thing. Even if she owns Thunderfruit, she can be regarded as the second master of the Traveler pirate group outside Ronan, there is no need. So, the Pluton of Crocodile, you don't need to worry at all. Am I still afraid that this ship will fail? For Ronan now, Pluton's power is not enough to worry about, or even to watch. Even 10 years ago, he would not be afraid of such a ship, let alone now. Advertisement, that's the case, then I can rest assured. Captain Ronan is here. Sure enough, the so-called crocodile, Shichibukai's sand crocodile, is not an opponent at all, right? Vivi suddenly let go of his heart, his face frowned. There was also a smile on him. Sure enough, with Ronan there, nothing can stump him. This is one of the 5 emperors of New World. The so-called crocodile is only Shichibukai, and it is incomparable with the 5 emperors. So, shall we continue on the road? By the way, Vivi, how long will we have to reach your Alabasta King City? Nami said. You will be there in a few days, don't worry. Vivi smiled and said, I have to find a transport. No, you show the way, I'll take you away. Ronan waved his hand and waited for you to find transportation. I don't know how long it will take to get to Wangcheng. I should do it myself. Anyway, my main purpose of coming out this time is to help the 2 women solve the problem, so I quickly solved it. Go back and turn on the dimensional breaker. Just dealing with Crocodile and Arlong gang, Ronan really can't interest him much, it's better to get it done quickly. Ronan took the 2 women into his arms with one hand, and flew directly into the sky, heading towards the capital of Alabasta. In less than an hour, under the guidance of Vivi, he successfully reached the capital of Albana. King Cobra was very happy about Princess Vivi's return. His daughter suddenly ran away from home, but he was worried about him. At the same time, after seeing Ronan, he recognized Ronan's identity as soon as possible. Cobra was great shocked, the 5 Emperor Ronan appeared in Alabasta. What is this going to do? Under Vivi's explanation, Cobra realized that his daughter had joined Ronan's pirates and became a member of the Traveler's Pirates, and now Ronan came to solve Alabasta at the request of his daughter, distressed. After learning that such a bad situation in China was caused by Crocodile, Cobra was very angry, but there was nothing he could do. Crocodile was not something he could easily provoke, but Ronan would make a difference. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Afterwards, Ronan turned around and flew directly away, heading towards the rainy ground, regardless of the chaotic rebel camp below. Next, you will wait for the news in Albana. I will solve Crocodile alone. You don't need to follow along. Advertisement. Well, Captain Ronan, you should also be careful, after all, Crocodile is also one of Shichibukai and the strength is definitely good, Vivi said worriedly. When he arrived at the location of the rebels, he saw a large number of rebels fighting hard on the ground. Ronan's eyes moved slightly and he had discovered the largest camp, and the leader of the rebels, Kosha, was among them. Ronan told Vivi and Nami that he planned to go there alone. Although there will be nothing to do with Vivi and Nami, it is not necessary. Under Ronan's questioning, Cobra told about the recent situation in Alabasta, and explained the situation of the insurgents. He also told Ronan about all the conditions in the rain area where Crocodile is located. But at this moment, an overbearing aura suddenly descended on the entire rainy ground, the infinite majesty crashed down, and the entire rainy ground was shrouded in a terrifying breath. Afterwards, Ronan was alone, soaring into the sky, first heading towards the location of the rebel army. Cobra was moved. He didn't expect that his country's dilemma still needs his daughter to solve. He could invite 5 Emperors Ronan to come forward. I don't know how much the daughter paid, but seeing Ronan's young and handsome appearance, and thinking of Luo again. Cobra didn't say much about Nan's current status and power. Rain, where Crocodile is located, at this moment Crocodile is sitting in a huge casino full of satisfaction. Alabasta is in chaos, and there are rebel uprisings everywhere. The royal family of Alabasta is at a time when it is in desperation, and he is frantically fishing for oil and water in it, and his plan to steal the country will soon succeed. Ha ha ha, before long, the whole Alabasta will be my crocodile, Crocodile laughed.
Ha ha, you don't need to worry about these. Ronan knew that the 2 women were kindly reminding them, but they didn't know their specific strengths. It is normal to have such concerns, Ronan just responded with a smile. Looking at the rebels chaotically below, Ronan smiled indifferently, just a group of mobs. A sharp sword gas erupted from Ronan's hands and rushed directly to the largest camp below. With a loud bang, the entire camp was completely destroyed, and the rebel leader Kosha and a group of high-level rebels were all bombarded to scum. Yeah, how can I say it is one of Shichibukai? If there is any whole card, it will cause some trouble for you. Nami followed. Not much to say, even if this Koza is not evil, he is still Vivi's childhood sweetheart. According to the original plot development, he did not die. In the end he succeeded in becoming Alabasta's Minister of the Environment, but now he is the leader of the rebel army. Many words, Ronan shot directly. Chapter 187 The Despair of Crocodile.
This breath, Crocodile's complexion changed drastically, and he stood up abruptly from his seat. And the members of the Baroque Work Club who stayed in various places in the rain field also changed their complexions. They looked up at the sky one by one, not knowing what had happened, but this powerful and almost devastating breath made everyone felt heavy in their hearts. Who is it? Crocodile let out a low cry. The whole person had already rushed out of the casino, his figure flickered, and he came to the top of the tallest building in the rain. He looked up and waited for him to see who the person in the sky was. A desperate mood spread. Luo, Ronan. Why can't it be me? In the sky, Ronan held his hands on his back and stood proudly in the sky. He couldn't help but smile Kaido indifferently when he heard Crocodile's almost desperate whisper. Ronan, why are you one of the 5 emperors exploding this kind of aura on my territory? Are you going to be my enemy? Crocodile asked in a deep voice. Obviously, Ronan's dangerous aura just broke out. It is absolutely impossible to come with kindness. Any fool can see that this posture is absolutely impossible to be a guest, so must be the enemy. As for the enemy, Crocodile is desperate. This is Ronan, one of the 5 emperors, and his own strength is so powerful that he dared to break into naval headquarters by himself 10 years ago, and even break into Marijoy to retreat. Can he Crocodile deal with such a character? Almost for the first time, Crocodile was thinking of a way, thinking about the future, even thinking about whether to surrender, and whether Ronan would spare his life if he surrendered. Oh, yes. Ronan simply nodded and responded straightforwardly. Alabasta's Princess Vivi has joined my pirate group. She asked me to help Alabasta solve the drought problem, so I will come to you directly. Just solve it. After losing you, Alabasta's predicament is naturally gone. You? Impossible. Why can you know so clearly? Crocodile's eyes widened, and the expression he looked at Ronan was full of disbelief. Ronan knew all about his plans? You can tell from Ronan's words that although he didn't say it clearly, he said that as long as he solves himself, Alabasta's dilemma can be solved. Obviously, Ronan knows that all of this is manipulated by himself behind the scenes. Advertisement. Why'd I know so clearly? I don't need to explain to you. Ronan smiled calmly. Then, I will ask Mr. Crocodile to die next. Damn it. Crocodile heard Ronan's words and looked at Ronan's expression. He understood that the other person would never spare him. A character like Ronan's hands were covered with blood. He wanted to kill. Gods and Buddhas couldn't stop him. I can save myself, but can I save myself? Crocodile's complexion condensed, and then his hands opened. Among them, the golden hook on his left hand was shining with cold light, and a large amount of yellow sand uzumaki appeared on the palm of his right hand. Obviously, Crocodile would not give up so easily. Want to kill me? Even if you were Ronan? Crocodile let out a low growl, his eyes turned blood red. Sha-lan. Crocodile flicked his right hand, and the small tornado in the palm of his hand was thrown out, and it was thrown directly towards the sky where Ronan was located. The moment it was thrown out, the small tornado immediately became bigger, and it kept getting bigger. Until the last time he was about to arrive at Ronan's location, he had already been connected to the sky and the desert, becoming a terrifying tornado connecting the heavens and the earth, carrying a terrifying power that could almost interrupt everything, and swept straight towards Ronan. Well, it's interesting. I didn't expect such a trick. After giving time, it will become so powerful. Ronan rubbed his chin and looked at Crocodile's move thoughtfully. Yes, he took the initiative to give the other party a chance to make a move. Otherwise, Crocodile wouldn't even tell him to make a move. He didn't even have a chance to find himself, was killed by Ronan. In other words, the sand crocodile, one of Shichibukai, before dying, it is not an exaggeration to give the opponent a shot. Of course, such a trick was originally just a small tornado in the palm of the hand, but now it has become a terrifying tornado connecting the world and the earth. It can be seen that Crocodile's power is indeed worth seeing, although this is because Ronan gave the opponent a chance. But I have to admit that Crocodile is worthy of being one of Shichibukai. However, that's it. Ronan spit out such a word, then his eyes moved, and an inexplicable wave passed by. The terrifying tornado that swept across the world suddenly stopped, and then fell apart. Such a terrifying attack, in front of Ronan, was solved by just a glance. Crocodile was shocked. The Baroque staff who watched the battle everywhere in the rain were shocked. They all looked at it all in amazement. They were speechless, and a single eye shattered such a powerful attack. This Ronan, it's terrifying. No, it's impossible. Seeing this, Crocodile was held with a whisper, impossible, but the scene before him was real. No matter how surprised he was, he couldn't change it. Ronan's attack was indeed easy by Ronan, and his eyes were shattered. A huge sword condensed with yellow sand slashed towards Ronan, but it was still annihilated by Ronan's forefinger at will. Advertisement Crocodile's roaring voice was full of breath from the beginning, and now it is hoarse, full of despair, and there is no blood red in his eyes, but full of gray and dimness. The rest of the city in Udi is extremely quiet. Even the personnel of the Baroque Work Club dare not join the battle rashly at this moment. Such a terrifying battle is not something they can intervene at all, and they can only watch it blankly. Desert Knife. This even more terrifying tornado was still busted by Ronan's eyes, and no accident happened. Damn it, it's such a pervert. Crocodile cursed in his heart, gritted his teeth and looked at Ronan's figure, but the other party was still standing with his hand holding his hand, as if nothing had happened. It didn't make Ronan feel any nervous, and yes, an attack that can be resolved with just a look, what's the nervousness? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Damn it, arc-shaped sand dunes, desert sword. Crocodile understands that he must use more powerful tricks, otherwise, with Ronan's power, really waiting for the opponent to take action, then there is basically no way to survive. Crocodile screamed, and an arc-shaped crescent-like sand knife swept across the sky and slashed towards Ronan, but Ronan flicked it and wiped it all out. The answer is, between the sky and the earth, only the sound of Crocodile's constant roaring tricks and the appearance of Ronan in the sky raising his hand to burst the attack. An attack that was far more terrifying than the tornado just now came. However, the previous tornado could be busted by Ronan's eyes, so now this one is even more terrifying? When Ronan saw this, he felt no interest, and said lightly, I've given you a chance to resist. It seems that this is all there is to it, then, let's end it. Heavy Shuren. Crocodile's eyes were cracking, and continued to roar, Desert King Kong's sword. Chapter 188 East Blue. Kokoyashi Village, in the rain. With Ronan's official action, Crocodile could not resist at all. Even if the sand fruit was elementalized, facing the demigod Ronan, it was still like acupuncture foam, and it was easily beaten into scum. At this point, it was announced that Crocodile, one of the Shichibukai sand crocodile, died at the hands of Ronan, and his dream of becoming the new king of Alabasta was officially broken. After Crocodile's death, Ronan clapped his hands and left the rainy ground. In the rainy ground, the staff of the Baroque Work Agency looked at each other and were silent. As the boss of the Baroque workshop, Crocodile is in existence in the workshop, and it is also one of Shichibukai itself. Even in the whole ocean, the whole world is a famous existence. There is no one who can become Shichibukai, and with this kind of existence, facing Ronan, one of the 5 emperors, they had no power to fight back, and they were completely crushed and killed. This was something they couldn't imagine, and now they felt confused. Baroque Job Club, that's it. After being silent for a while, MR1 opened his mouth and said, "The leader was killed by Ronan, and our Baroque work agency does not need to continue to exist. Now we are small people and cannot attract Ronan's attention. He killed our leader. I didn't shoot at us either, but if we continue to advance the plan of the previous leader, it might irritate him." "Not bad," another person answered, and everyone has heard the conversation between Ronan and the leader. The Vivi Princess of Alabasta has become a member of the South Blue Thief Group. In the future, Alabasta will be affected by Ronan. Asylum, if we continue to advance the plan, Ronan will definitely notice it, and without the leader, we will not be able to complete the plan. Yes, if this is the case, then let's disband each one. MR1 nodded and said, "Notify the personnel performing tasks in other places that all tasks are over, and the Baroque Work Club will be disbanded. From now on, everyone, please be well." Ronan didn't pay attention to the Baroque Work Club. The leader of Crocodile has been killed. The rest of these little guys shouldn't be afraid at all. It's impossible to continue to do damage if you have a bit of brains. You must know that the leaders of the rebels are the same as the high-level leaders. It was solved by Ronan, so for the current Alabasta, Crocodile who was behind the scenes was killed, the high-level rebels were wiped out, and the drought problem was solved. Then the kingdom's food production and drinking water problems should be restored step by step, resettlement and rescue the victims. You can officially declare the end of the disaster. East Blue, Kokoyaksi Village, this is a village rich in oranges. It used to be a wealthy island. Unfortunately, since a group of murlocs and pirates came to occupy the entire village a few years ago, the wealthy village has disappeared. The villagers have to be exploited by the murlocs and pirates all the time, and their lives are very difficult. The mother of Nami and Nokagao died under the tyrannical rule of the murloc pirates, and died in the hands of Arlong. Ronan's ship was discovered as soon as it approached. At the same time, deep in the bottom of the sea, a huge manatee-like sea kings heard a message from a murloc and began to approach the Ronan ship. Advertisement: the villagers did not resist, but many people who resisted were killed by the murloc pirates. Over time, the villagers knew that it was useless to resist and would pay the price of their lives. In desperation, they stopped resisting the tyrannical rule of the murlocs. NS. Captain Ronan, we have to be careful. This port is controlled by the Arlong group. If you dock directly, you will definitely be noticed by the Arlong group. He is a cruel murloc. Nami said of the Arlong group. His face was a little pale, as if thinking of something bad. Ronan smiled lightly, soothed Nami, and then looked at the location of the port. Over there, dozens of strange-shaped murlocs had gathered in the port, and one by one, holding weapons, looked fiercely at his side. "Do not worry." Ronan thought for a while and nodded. "It's okay, but you'd better ask your sister's own wishes. In our pirates group, no one has ever been forced to join, all of them have joined voluntarily." Ronan's ship formally arrived at Kokoyashi village. The island where the village is located has only one port for boats. Of course, this port is also occupied by the Arlong pirate group, and serves as a stronghold to control the only outlet to the sea in the village. Everyone in and out of his control. Vivi was also a little curious about Nami's sister in her hometown, and she persuaded Nami. "Since your sister is at home alone, why not let her join our pirate group? Or you will go to New with us in the future. World, how lonely is to leave your sister in East Blue alone." "Don't worry, New Okagawa will definitely be willing to join, and her cooking skills are very good. After joining our pirate group, you can let her learn the cooking skills with Karuman, and we will have more food to enjoy in the future," Nami said happily. When Nami heard this, he was very impressed, and couldn't help asking Ronan if he could let his sister New Okagawa join the pirates. Ronan returned to Albana. After Cobra learned from Ronan that the matter had been perfectly resolved, he was overjoyed and quickly slapped Ronan to praise Ronan for his greatness. Several days later, Ronan's 3 boats swiftly passed the upside-down mountain and came to East Blue without disturbing anyone. Even though the news of Alabasta Crocodile's death should have spread, the world government and Morgans are almost the same. I have received the news, and it is estimated that the relevant information is already being investigated, but after all, Ronan is not as fast as Ronan. The East Blue Marine branch cannot know that Ronan has come to East Blue. Even if he knows it, it is estimated that he will not dare to intercept it. Without him, I am afraid of being killed. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Ronan is still very curious about the plane world opened by the dimensional wallbreaker. Vivi also went to East Blue with him. She was already a member of the South Blue Thief Group, and Cobra did not stay with her. Nami was also very happy to see Vivi with her. When it comes to the village, we must invite Vivi to taste the food. Her sister Nuokigao's cooking skills are very good. Ronan just responded with a smile, and then stayed in Albana for a while, and then continued to take the 2 girls on the road. Next, he went to East Blue and went to Nami's hometown to help Nami solve the problem. After Nami's problem was solved, there is no worries about the future. Ronan can open the copy. Although Nami is a navigator of Arlong's group, she hates Arlong's group very much. Arlong killed her mother. Although she is not her biological mother, the feelings of the 2 daughters to Bel-Mir are not worse than their biological mothers. Chapter 189. Arlong who wants to kill Ronan. They all have weapons in their hands, and the leading murlocs are very powerful. Nami's voice was trembling. She had lived in the shadow of a murloc and pirate since she was a child. Even if she knew that Ronan was a strong man by her side, she still couldn't help but feel a little trembling. Nami, calm down. Ronan is here, we don't have to be afraid. Vivi took Nami's hand and comforted Nami while looking at Ronan. What to do next depends entirely on Ronan. Since I'm here to solve Nami's dilemma, there is no need to keep a low profile. Ronan spoke calmly, and then he flew into the sky as soon as he moved his body. Before the ship docked, people had already flown towards the port. During the flight, he was a little below the sea, in the depths of the sea, that manatee. Before rushing out of the sea, a horrible sword energy penetrated the head, and the blood spread deep in the bottom of the sea, attracting a large group of sharks to prey. Damn, he killed the manatee, a murloc said furiously. This guy can fly? Who the hell is it? Another murloc pirate wondered. Is there such a character in East Blue? HMPH, Boss Arlong is here, no matter who the person is, let him know that he dares to provoke our dragon pirate group, and what is waiting for him is death, another murloc pirate said angrily. Behind all the murlocs, a tall murloc with pointed nose, fangs and sharp teeth came over. This person is no one else but Arlong, the leader of the dragon pirate group. He, dare to run wild in my turf, no matter who you are, you will die in my hands today. Arlong sneered and shouted at the figure in the air. Boy, don't you hurry down to die? Sure enough. There was a clear voice from the figure in the sky. In this world, everyone who dared to talk to me like this is basically dead and clean. I didn't expect another one to pop up in East Blue today. You're Arlong? You're nonsense? Advertisement Ronan's figure slowly landed on the ground of the port, with his hands on his back, his face calmly looking at the group of murlocs and pirates headed by Arlong on the opposite side. There is no need for him to worry about it, just get rid of it. Arrogance, you are the real arrogance. Do you know who our boss is? Our boss is the East Blue Dragon Pirate Group Arlong. Don't you hurry up to beg for mercy when you see our boss. A murloc who didn't have long eyes shouted. I got up, but before I finished speaking, I slapped him on the head. Snapped. It was not someone else who was beating, it was Arlong who was bullish in his mouth. Arlong's heart is shaking now. Why? Because he recognized who the person in front of him was. Perhaps the murlocs under his command did not recognize the person in front of him, but as the captain of the Dragon Pirate Group, how could he not know who the person in front of him was? Shut up! Arlong yelled at his subordinates, then turned his head to look at Ronan. His attitude changed abruptly, not at all arrogant at all. Well, the subordinates are not sensible, don't mind. How come Mr. Ronan does? Sora, have you come to play with me? While talking, Arlong's eyes revealed a strange color, with doubts, fears, and a hint of viciousness. What is puzzled is why Ronan came to his own small sight. As one of the 5 emperors of New World, Ronan is a real big man. It can be said that Ronan is the top member in the entire world, but now it's really strange to come to this little place of my own. It's not Arlong who laughs at himself. This place of my own is just a little trouble. Compared with the island of Aaron where Ronan, the New World Emperor, it's really heaven and earth, any one of the 4 major cities on Aaron Island. They are all tens of thousands of miles away from Kokoyaksi Village. The oil and water in Kokoyaksi Village for 100 years are not enough for the tax revenue of other cities for 1 year. It is completely incomparable, of course. Ronan's strength is feared. This is Ronan, one of the 5 emperors. What happened 10 years ago? Even though Arlong was only a teenager, he learned about the major things Ronan had done for newspapers, whether it was the destruction of a large number of marines. The fleet, or directly kill Marineford or Marijoy, are things that shocked Arlong beyond the limit. Now he faces such a terrifying existence, how can he not be afraid? Ruthlessness is that Ronan is obviously unkind, but it is impossible to let himself be caught and wait for death. It is true that you Ronan is strong, and that your position and power are high, but this is my turf, I as a murloc. The biggest advantage is not to fight with you in the sky, but in the water. Ronan looked at Arlong's movements calmly, his expression was like watching a clown. Thinking of this, Arlong's eyes were filled with uncontrollable excitement. He felt that he was only one step away from the world's strongest player. If Ronan were to fight himself in the sea, he would definitely not be his opponent. It turned out to be you, Nami. At this time, Arlong spoke. His eyes flickered at Nami, and his voice calmly said, I didn't expect it to be you. I actually asked Ronan, one of the 5 emperors, as a helper. You are ready revenge for your mother? Advertisement. After saying that, Arlong jumped into the ocean beside him with a thunder, only his head was exposed to look at Ronan. Hey, you, as demon fruit power, dare to fight me in the sea? Ha ha. Ronan, the legendary invincible, do you dare? Ha. Ronan is very strong, I admit it, but don't forget, I am a murloc. Nami, our dragon pirates have always been good to you, how dare you betray us? Really damn it, another murloc pirate said bitterly, looking at Nami as if he would eat her. No, there has never been, right? Nami, you were the one who led people over. A murloc stared at Nami viciously. Nami and Vivi got off the boat, and the first moment they saw Nami, Arlong and the murloc pirates suddenly understood. What the hell? The pirates looked at each other, a little unclear, so they did not have the knowledge of Arlong. At the same time, Ronan was famous 10 years ago. Although he is the 5 emperors of New World in the past 10 years, he is also very famous in the Grand Line, but with his own eyes not many people saw Ronan, let alone some young people. And Ronan, just about to start at the moment, the ship over there docked. When was your boss so persuaded? Arlong's eyes flickered, and the rest of his eyes leaned toward the sea in the harbor. If Ronan really wanted to kill himself, then he would jump into the ocean. There was no problem to escape. Moreover, as a demon fruit power, Ronan could not go to the sea to chase him. If you kill yourself, if you dare to go to the sea, even if you can resist the side effects of devil fruit, your combat power in the sea is not comparable to that on the ground, if you can. If you can kill Ronan, ha ha ha, it will become famous in the world. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Even if faced with a character that Fisher, the boss of the Murloc pirate group, dared to contend, even if he faced Jinbei, one of Shichibukai, he was never afraid of facing the Murloc King and Neptune, the Lord of Dragon Palace. With his head held up proudly, how could he face the little white face in front of him like this? Upon hearing this, Nami, who was still a little frightened, immediately gritted his teeth and looked at Arlong's group of Murlocs, and said cruelly, Arlong, you killed my mother and treated the villagers cruelly. Have you thought about today? Huh, now Luo Captain Nan came to clean up you personally, you're done? The Murloc pirates on the side were confused by Arlong's words. Chapter 190 Spike. New Okagao join, ha 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 ha, boy, do you dare to fight with our boss in the sea? The Murlocs and pirates nearby laughed loudly when they heard the words. They were all very arrogant and mad. You must know that the fighting power of Murlocs in the water is far from that on land. The human beings who ate devil fruit alone want to defeat a Murloc in the water. Even an ordinary Murloc has a great advantage, let alone a strong Murloc like Arlong. So in the eyes of the Murlocs and pirates, Ronan would definitely not dare to go into the water. Although they don't know who Ronan is, listening to Arlong's words, he must be a great man, but what about it? No matter how great a man is, you dare not fight the Murloc in the water.
Noisy. Ronan listened to the arrogant laughter of the Murloc pirates, and cast a cold glance at the Murloc pirates. After snorting, he waved his hand as a sword air blasted over. Shit, shit, there were tearing sounds of flesh and blood, and then none of the Murlocs in the field could stand.
No, it should be said that none of them were alive, none of them were intact, and they were all cut into pieces by the sharp sword energy. Block. In order to prevent Nami and Vivi from seeing such a cruel sight, Ronan went down with a flame and burned the limbs and arms clean. He has the ability of Mera-mera Fruit, the ability of Mera-mera Fruit. After 10 years of awakening, it has reached its peak. Even in the original work, Ace's strongest period is less than 1/10 of Ronan's at this moment. Well, this is all there? Nami was also stunned. Sure enough, Ronan knew if there was any when he took it. He wiped out so many Murlocs and pirates in an instant, and the fire was less clean, even if it was on the sidelines. Vivi also froze for a moment. She and Nami have not seen Ronan take action with their own eyes. Even if they know that Ronan is very strong, they still stay in the hearsay. Listening to Dana Robin, Elena and others, when he was in Alabasta, Luo when Nan killed Crocodile, they didn't take the two of them to watch the battle, and now, they really saw Ronan take action with their own eyes for the first time. It was a thunderstorm. Not only Nami and Vivi were stunned, even Arlong floating on the sea was sluggish at the moment. Advertisement, they are all his subordinates, everyone is strong, even in the face of the human pirate group, they can still fight the strength, but now, in front of Ronan, they can't hold up even a single move. All killed, this Ronan's strength is too exaggerated, right? Arlong was so shocked, he took a breath, feeling that the sea around him couldn't bring him a sense of security. Thinking of this, Arlong didn't dare to provoke Ronan anymore, and with a heart of fear, he turned around and dived into the depths of the sea. If he was still dreaming of killing Ronan to become famous in one fell swoop, then now, he just wants to escape here, just to the depths of the ocean, the deeper the better. This Ronan is terrible. Hey, that Arlong is going to run. Vivi came back to his senses and saw Arlong dive into the water, and hurriedly shouted. Nami on the side also turned around and saw that Arlong's figure quickly disappeared into the water. Don't worry, he can't run away. Ronan smiled indifferently and waved his hands to relieve the two women. Then he flicked his fingers, and a highly concentrated sword energy flew from the fingertips, disappearing from the fingertips like light, and then drew a straight light into the sea, and then everyone heard a dull scream from the bottom of the water. Under the sea, about 100 meters deep, Arlong's head had been pierced by sword chi, and his brain was overflowing. After shaking his figure, he was motionless again, obviously dead. Ronan didn't break Arlong's body, but let the sharks on the bottom of the sea swallow the body of this guy. This guy was the culprit who killed Nami's mother. It was too easy for him to die by a sword gas instantly. Luo. Nan-K will never collect the body of this guy again. Okay. Ronan clapped his hands and said with great ease. Next, Nami is your hometown, don't you take us to your house? Hey. Is this over? Nami was still in a daze, or that her mother's grievances were avenged, which made her a little unbelievable at the moment, and some couldn't recover. Advertisement, Nami, of course it's over. Captain Ronan will definitely be fine. You heard the scream from the bottom of the sea just now, right? That guy Arlong is dead. Your mother's revenge is over. Now, you have to be happy. Vivi took Nami's hand and said, well, my mother's hatred is finally reported, great. Nami said with emotion, go, I'll take you to my house, and I will take this the good news tells Nuokagao. She will be very happy to know. Besides, the villagers know that Arlong and his gang are dead, and no one will oppress them anymore. They will definitely be very happy too. After a while, the three of them came to the village. Nami told the villagers that Arlong and his gang had been removed. The villagers didn't believe it when they heard the news, but when someone went to the port of Arlong. After inspecting the resident, the whole village was in an uproar. While watching the villagers laugh and laugh, the three of them have already left the village and walked towards a hillside behind the village. There is the home of Nami and Nuokagao, which used to be the residence of their mother Belle-Mère. After the death of Belle-Mère, this house was naturally the common property of Nami and Nozagao. The house was full of oranges, which were planted by Belle-Mère when he was alive. The two also maintained the orange trees. Very good, I don't want to have problems with the orange tree left by my mother. And in the yard, there is a place where Nami digs for a buried treasure. That was Nami's decision before she met Ronan. She had to save enough money, and then bought back the village from Arlong, and bought her own free body. However, the more she grows up, the more she knows that her childhood thoughts are too naive. If Arlong sees that he has so much money, his first reaction is definitely to steal his own money, not really as he promised, like. After entering the house, the three of them saw Nuokigo who was busy. Nami happily ran over and hugged Nuokigo, and then happily told Nuokigo about the removal of Arlong's gang. Hearing that, Nuokigao first was in disbelief, and then after confirming that Nami was not deceiving himself, tears were suddenly shed. Under Nami's introduction, Nuokigao also met Ronan and Vivi, and then prepared a sumptuous lunch for everyone. As expected, Nuokigao's cooking skills are indeed as good as Nami said, even if it is Kaluman, it was estimated that he was at this level when he first joined the pirates. Nuokigao is indeed a very talented girl in cooking. After eating lunch, Nami and Nuokigao went to the burial place of Belle-Mère in the back mountain, left lilies in front of Belle-Mère's grave, and knelt on the grave and said the ending of Arlong's gang, and under Nami's persuasion, in front of Belle-Mère's grave, Nuokigao did not think long before agreeing to join Ronan's pirate group.